Chapter 337. The Empress couldn't take this. Lying down, Saint Rowan placed one hand on his waist and casually flicked a strand of his white hair. I'm just worried that you, a young girl, will suffer a humiliating defeat. I finally found something entertaining, and one wanted to keep you around for a few more years, but it seems like you're seeking death. It's not certain who's courting death, but if you're not up for it, I won't force you. Su Yingxue held her red jade soft whip, her eyes filled with disdain for Saint Rowan. There were two expressions that Saint Rowan despised the most in his life. One was indifference. For instance, the indifference displayed by Chu Yihan, who, despite provoking a strong desire to confront him, refrained from doing so. The other was disdain, just like the look on Su Yingxue's face right now. It reminded him of the way a woman had looked at him many years ago. Su Yingxue, one will compete with you. Don't worry, one will certainly develop a poison that will make you wish for death. After saying this, Saint Rowan left without leaving a trace. Su Yingxue narrowed her eyes. Then let's see who ends up victorious. Hey, this person has a strong presence of poison, and he's even older than your grandfather. Do you want to compete with him in poison? Are you ready to give up your life, as well as mine? In Su Yingxue's mind, little Ginseng pouted with a cute, angry expression. Don't worry, I'm not looking to die young. Su Yingxue closed the door and entered the Medicine King Valley. She had set up a study room for herself and, after organizing her mother's belongings, she took out a book from the bookshelf. In it, her mother had written hasty notes about Saint Rowan. Her mother was someone who couldn't sit still. Whenever she had spare time, she would delve into various medicinal topics and people associated with medicine. This included Saint Rowan, and her records contained information about Saint Rowan's fiancée. There was also one type of poison that he had failed to develop throughout his life, intoxicating fragrance. In the Fengzhou Palace, after receiving the news, Lu Fu hurried into the palace and knelt in front of the Empress. Your Majesty, our people have returned with information. The Empress, who had worn a troubled expression for a long time, immediately perked up. Speak. Su Yingxue and Saint Rowan met in secret. It's said that the two of them intend to engage in a poison duel. Lu Fu reported. A poison duel? The Empress' gaze suddenly turned sharp, and her teeth ground together. Su Yingxue, you're underestimating yourself. You are seeking your death. Your Majesty, Saint Rowan is a renowned poison doctor, and no one dares to provoke him. If Su Yingxue competes with him in poison, she'll undoubtedly meet her end at his hands. Your Majesty can finally vent your anger. Lu Fu fawned, grinning. Ever since Chu Xiuan was dispatched to guard the Imperial Mausoleum, the Empress had been wearing a troubled expression and had kept a close watch on Su Yingxue every day. Now that she had received this news, she was naturally elated. However, the Empress narrowed her eyes. No, Su Yingxue is crafty. One want to watch her die. Watch her struggle desperately in front of everyone in Saint Rowan's presence, unable to escape death. Only this kind of torment would befit my son. Her beloved Chu Xiuan, the core of her heart. His life was destroyed by Su Yingxue. How could she swallow this humiliation? Your Majesty is brilliant. Lu Fu smiled obsequiously. Chu Chengye was paying his respects in the palace when he heard his mother's words. His heart sank. Chapter 338. The smell of gunpowder between two men. He walked up to the Empress and held her hand. Mother, the third brother is in the Imperial Mausoleum. I have already arranged everything for him. The old citizens of the Yu Kingdom have also been appeased. In 3 years, he can return to Jiangdu City. The Empress was originally very gratified. Thank you for your hard work, Year. Mother, do you still want to deal with Su Yingxue? Chu Chengye looked troubled. The Empress' face suddenly darkened, and her voice was as cold as ice. What? Are you still going to plead for that woman? She caused your third brother to be like this. She made your father hate you, and even rejected you time and time again. Have you been bewitched by her? No, Mother. One only feel that she is, after all, the legitimate daughter of the Marquis Manor. Now that Su Hao is guarding the Bamboo Leaf Pass, which is a border fortress, if you kill her, I'm afraid it will lead to enmity with the Marquis Manor. Chu Chengye's eyes flickered, and his mind wavered. I am the Empress. Do you still need to fear a mere Marquis manner? The Empress slammed the table angrily. Year, remember this. Su Yingxue must die. She humiliated me and Xiaowen. Even if she dies 100 times, it's not enough. Chu Qingye refrained from pleading for Su Yingxue, but in his heart, he couldn't bear to see her die. He had yet to win her heart back. The woman who had once been obsessed with him should at least have him in her heart, even in death. In preparation for her upcoming poison duel with Saint Ruan, Su Yingxue locked herself in her room for several days and nights. She had given strict orders not to be disturbed, not even by Su Dingheng. However, there was a knock on her door, and Xilan's troubled voice sounded. Miss, the 7th prince is here. Su Yingxue emerged from the Medicine King Valley. She walked to the door and impatiently said, Tell him to leave. Su Yingxue, if you don't come out, don't regret it. Chu Qingye ground his teeth. He had come to see her out of kindness, and she dared to tell him to leave. Your Highness, take a left after leaving. Farewell. Su Yingxue's indifference was mixed with a very evident disgust. What a waste of her time. Su Yingxue, come out. One have something to tell you, Chu Qingye exclaimed in frustration. If it weren't for her life, he wouldn't have come here to be treated coldly by Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue took the red jade soft whip and planned to give Chu Qingye a good whipping after opening the door so that he would no longer have the audacity to harass her. As soon as he opened the door, he felt an extremely terrifying aura of killing intent in the courtyard, causing the pressure in the entire courtyard to plummet. Your Highness? Her eyes brightened. The moment Chu Qingye saw Su Yingxue, his heart skipped a beat. He didn't know when it had started, but he found it increasingly difficult to control his emotions when he saw her, even though she had never pursued him as passionately as before. However, the light in her eyes was now because she saw Chu Yihan. Jealousy surged within Chu Qingye. He positioned himself between Su Yingxue and Chu Yihan and unfriendlily said, What is Imperial Uncle doing here? Su Yingxue hasn't married yet, so Imperial Uncle can't just visit a girl's residence. Chu Yihan's gaze landed on him, and his icy voice carried a strong sense of authority. Who gave you the courage to question me? Anyone who met Chu Yihan's gaze either died or was left half dead. Chu Qingye had never been on good terms with him, and now the atmosphere became tense. Su Yingxue had a betrothal with me. It's only natural for me to come to her place. Imperial Uncle should avoid arousing suspicion. Chapter 339. The Kiss of Punishment. Who has an engagement with you? 7th Prince. People should care about their reputation. If you think your face is unattractive, don't bring it to me. I find it ugly too. Su Yingxue looked at him with disdain. Then, she cast a soft, delicate gaze at Chu Yihan, as if she were a vulnerable little white rabbit. As if she had perked up her ears, she explained in a whimpering tone, I have nothing to do with him. He's the one who's been bothering me. Chu Yihan's originally ice-cold face softened slightly upon hearing Su Yingxue's words, and a faint smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. 7th Prince, if you don't have any urgent matters, I won't detain you any longer. Marquis Manor has many affairs to attend to, so please understand. Su Yingxue politely signaled for him to leave. Chu Qingye felt as if he had been slapped. He gazed at Chu Yihan resentfully. You don't have time for me, but you find time to meet with Imperial Uncle? Su Yingxue didn't respond immediately. Chu Yihan's eyes exuded a deep and suffocating aura as he asked, Are you not convinced? Chu Qingye gritted his teeth. Of course, he was not convinced. Originally, Chu Qingye had been the only one in Su Yingxue's heart, the woman who would become his 7th imperial consort. Now, her focus had shifted entirely to Chu Yihan. How could he be convinced? I'm only thinking of Imperial Uncle. I don't want today's incident to tarnish your reputation. He snorted coldly. Chu Yihan was quite magnanimous. If you want it to spread, they'll help you. But for now, he had instructed Imo Qi to drive this person away. What an eyesore. Chu Qingye couldn't accept it, and watched as Su Yingxue brought Chu Yihan into her chambers. He widened his eyes and muttered, Su Yingxue, you shameless woman. 7th Prince, please be careful with your words. It's one thing to insult others, but your Highness is your Imperial Uncle, Imo Qi kindly reminded. Chu Qingye felt a sense of oppression. If it weren't for the fact that Imochi was in front of him, he would have certainly taken action. However, Imochi was Chu Yuhan's right-hand man, the top expert in the prince's mansion. He might not be a match for him. When he saw that Su Yingshu's maid was still present, he added, "If Su Yingxue has a change of heart and wishes to beg for mercy, I, as a prince, won't be as petty as her." Humph. Jilan was puzzled. Why would Miss beg for mercy? Especially for a sweetheart who didn't match her in any way. Was this person suffering from hysteria? Oh. Inside the room, Su Yingxue was pressed onto the soft couch by Chu Yihan. His lips advanced aggressively toward her, leaving her defenseless. The room's temperature began to rise steadily. Chu Yihan's hand passed through his clothing to a particular area on her body, causing Su Yingxue to moan softly. "Don't." Chu Yihan immediately halted his actions. He released her but displayed a frustration that Su Yingxue couldn't comprehend. He bit her lips. "Ouch. That hurts." Su Yingxue pouted. "Is your highness born in the year of the dog?" He seemed to bite her at the slightest provocation. Didn't he know how to show mercy with his mouth? "It's because you're heartless. One can't see you, but you're seeing my nephew so often." The man's voice contained a hint of anger. His body was exerting tremendous pressure on Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue complained, "I'm innocent. The seventh prince came to bother me for no reason. I don't even know why he's here, so how can one be seeing him often? Why did he provoke you for no reason?" Chu Yuhan's eyes were as profound as an abyss, exuding an overwhelming pressure. Su Yingxue was bewildered. How would I know? Probably because of his identity. The people from Marquis Manor couldn't stop him. Chapter 340. Let him have no chance to compete with you, just like the ninth prince on her. The people of the Marquis Manor had to take a detour when they saw him. How could they dare to stop him? Chu Yihan didn't seem to be satisfied with this answer. Just as he was about to bite Su Yingxue again, Su Yingxue quickly covered her mouth and said in a muffled voice, "Your Highness, it hurt." She had to dodge. Chu Yihan's eyes were filled with temptation. Su Yingxue slowly got up and took the initiative to kiss him on the lips. She instantly felt that the coldness on Chu Yihan's body wasn't as strong anymore. However, he still pressed her down. This position was a little too strange. Su Yingxue sighed helplessly. Then, she cupped his face, and her lips lingered on his lips for a while. When Chu Yihan pulled her up, he held her in his arms and pinched her soft cheeks, as if unwilling to leave her for even a moment. Su Yingxue knew that he liked to hug her, so she obediently nestled in his arms. A rare peaceful expression appeared on her face. She guessed Chu Qingye's intention. He probably wanted me to beg him. Before the Empress attacked me last time, he also came to look for me. Is he worthy? Chu Yihan's eyes were filled with mockery. Su Yingxue didn't even need to beg him, so how could Chu Qingye make her beg? He's not worthy. But I'm thinking, what does the Empress want to do this time? Su Yingxue rubbed her forehead against Chu Yihan's chin. She was considered tall among women, but in front of Chu Yihan, she was still a soft and small one. Chu Yihan's eyes darkened. If she wants to deal with you again, it's not impossible for the great Cheng dynasty to change the Empress. In the imperial palace, there was no lack of people whose looks, talents, and family backgrounds were above the Empress. The Empress was not the only one who had a prince. For example, noble Consort Xiao. Even Consort Xiang was doted on more than the Empress. Su Yingxue shook her head. She wrapped her arm around Chu Yihan's neck and rubbed it gently. Don't get into a fight with her. Otherwise, you might give the Emperor a chance to fight you. Her long eyelashes fluttered like a dancing butterfly, beautiful and moving. Chu Yihan's voice carried a hint of joy. Are you worried about me? Su Yingxue nodded without hiding anything. Yes, between you and the Emperor, I didn't want him to have the chance to hurt you. Chu Yihan had fought alone for a long time. Every step he had taken in the past had been very difficult. His current position was obtained through many years of bloody battles. She would never allow Chu Yihan to be harmed because of her. Chu Yihan's heart was filled with warmth, but his words carried the majesty of an emperor. Don't worry, no one can hurt me, and no one can hurt you. Even if that person is the emperor, If he dares to touch you, I will still replace him. Su Yingshi's moist eyes widened slightly. The Emperor? Chu Yihan looked at the surprise in her eyes. He gently caressed her face, not wanting to scare her. He leaned over and kissed her comfortingly. Su Yingxue could feel the peace of mind he gave her. However, she didn't want to hide the fact that she was competing with Saint Ruan from him. She did not expect Chu Yihan's reaction. Do you want to compete with Saint Ruan? He looked at her with his dark, jade-like eyes, and no one knew what was brewing in his eyes. Su Yingxue nodded. One had to. Furthermore, I had to win against him. He practiced medicine for many years before. Later, something happened. So he had been studying poisons. It had been more than 40 years since then. Chu Yihan's expression was solemn. Su Yingxue broke free from his hand. Don't you have confidence in me? Chapter 341. Poison production successful. Chu Yihan spoke in a composed tone. I trust you, but one won't allow anyone to harm you. If you're determined to compete with him, I'll ensure he won't get the chance. Don't tell me you intend to. Su Yingxue sensed Chu Yihan's chilling intent. To kill him. Chu Yihan remained calm as he said this. Su Yingxue immediately shook her head. No. Even if I want him dead, one want him to accept it willingly. If it were someone else, Chu Yihan would not have given her the chance to argue. To ensure her safety, he was ready to send someone to end Saint Ruan's life. But Su Yingxue wouldn't allow it. So, he refrained from giving that order. Seeing him silent for a while, Su Yingxue tried persuading him with kind words, almost exhausting her words. Just when she thought she couldn't sway Chu Yihan's large palm landed on her head, gently rubbing her hair. I will protect you. There was a deep affection in his handsome gaze. Su Yingxue couldn't help but smile. Her imperial uncle was truly adorable. Su Yingxue spent days concentrating on concocting poison. Little Ginseng looked at the Medicine King Valley, now dark and filled with various colorful herbs. Its mouth twitched. You're not planning to ruin this place, are you? Impossible. She couldn't bear to destroy the Medicine King Valley, given its importance. But after all these days of experimenting, did you succeed? Little Ginseng doubted her poison-making abilities, especially considering her opponent was an expert in poisons. Su Yingxue stared fixedly at the withered grass in the medicinal field. When she saw it slowly regaining life, her eyes brightened. It's done. Before she could rejoice, Zi Wei's voice cut in. He's here. Su Yingxue immediately opened her eyes. Zi Wei stood guard before her, clutching his blade, looking alert. Opposite him, the disrespectful elder still wore a red robe adorned with suggestive paintings. He seemed even younger and more radiant than before. Su Yingxue couldn't help but frown. Old man, have you concocted a youth-preserving poison? She wanted to test if he had developed the intoxicating fragrance. I'm just youthful. That assassin by your side looks older than me. Why not give him some elixir to maintain himself? Saint Ruan sneered. His eyes displayed contempt, mocking both Zi Wei and Su Yingxue. Zi Wei was never concerned about others' opinions of him. However, Saint Ruan's disdain for Su Yingxue was evident. His blade swiftly forced Saint Ruan into the courtyard. Damn! Are you fearless, attacking without a word? Aren't you afraid of death? Saint Ruan hadn't encountered such single-mindedness in ages. Being chased by Chu Yihan's shadow guards was one thing, but now this assassin dared to show no mercy? After all, he had been part of the Silver Moon Pavilion for many years. Didn't he know his strength? Wasn't he afraid? Zi Wei used increasingly fierce moves, conveying a message to Saint Ruan. Not only was he unafraid, but he also willingly risked his life for Su Yingxue. Just as Saint Ruan was about to strike Zi Wei, Su Yingxue hastily commanded, Zi Wei dodge. Zi Wei immediately ceased his attack and evaded. Where he had stood, there was a pot of flowers. When Saint Ruan's poison powder touched it, the flowers instantly withered into a dark green liquid pool. Saint Ruan sneered. Su Yingxue, if you dare, don't let him dodge. Let him come and kill me. Let's see who dies first. Chapter 342. The Battle of Poison in the Palace begins in terms of killing, He had never feared anyone. Assassins could kill, and so could he. Your opponent is me, Su Yingxue proclaimed boldly. Since you're here today, let our competition begin. Saint Ruan was quite willing to engage her in competition. Originally, we could have competed today, but there's a decree from the palace. It has fixed our competition between us for tomorrow in the palace. Su Yingxue, are you afraid? Afraid? Su Yingxue's lips formed a beautiful arc that word. I don't know how to write. But why was the competition shifted to the palace? Saint Ruan flicked his hair. Don't think I'm trying to steal the limelight. The emperor invited me to the palace. Our upcoming competition has spread like wildfire. The emperor forbids me from mistreating you and claims he wants to ensure fairness. He snorted, clearly discontented by Su Yingxue's perceived attempt to gain advantages through influence. Then let's meet at the palace, Su Yingxue retorted. She knew it wasn't about justice being served at the palace. Instead, someone wanted to witness her public failure and death at the hands of Saint Ruan. Originally a small-scale competition, the Empress arranged it like a state banquet. Officials, military commanders, and the daughters of officials attended. In the vast hall of profound literature, everyone awaited in anticipation. Su Yingxue greeted the Emperor and Empress, sensing countless eyes on her. Some were smug, others worried. She noticed Lin Cixi, heavily veiled today, clutching her clothes tightly, deeply concerned for her. Su Yingxue offered her a reassuring glance, calming Lin Cixi slightly. In a daze, Lin Cixi accidentally stepped on someone's foot nearby. The person startled, crying out, "Ah!" Lin Cixi quickly apologized. "I'm sorry, it was an accident." Seeing Lin Cixi in green attire, Xiao Rux's eyes flickered with emotion. "So, it's Miss Lin from Great General Lin's residence." She was the daughter of noble consort Xiao's maternal sister-in-law and daughter of the Minister of War. She had been considered as a potential match for noble consort Xiao's son. However, her mother informed her about Chu Jinling's engagement. Lin Cixi was bestowed as his imperial consort. She was curious about Lin Cixi's capabilities. Seeing her flustered, Xiao Rux's eyes revealed a trace of ill intent. "Miss Lin, what happened to your face?" Her voice drew attention. All eyes turned to Lin Cixi. Lin Cixi clenched her fists in her sleeves. Her eyes widened as fear welled up in her heart. "Jinling," she whispered, subconsciously recalling Chu Jinling. She was frightened. Upon hearing her call, Xiao Rux's demeanor turned cold. She put on a friendly expression and said, "Miss Lin, if you feel any discomfort on your face, don't hide it. You must seek medical help soon. Let me check for you." "No." Lin Cixi was full of fear and pushed Xiao Ruxue away inadvertently. Lin Cixi's martial arts were not weak. Xiao Ruxue, a young miss from a rich family, was easily pushed down by her. However, Xiao Ruxue somehow fell to the seat. Her forehead hit the corner of the table and instantly turned red. "Ruxue, what happened to you?" When Madame Xiao saw this, she nervously helped her up. Xiao Ruxue leaned into her arms and sobbed. "Mother, I was concerned about Miss Lin's face. Miss Lin accidentally pushed me." Chapter 343. The pitiful drama of the Xiao madam and daughter. Any mother who doted on her daughter would scowl at Lin Cixi. Especially Madame Xiao was noble consort Xiao's sister. She was already angry that Lin Cixi had stolen Xiao Rux's marriage, and now she had hurt Xiao Ruxue. Madame Xiao helped Xiao Ruxue up and asked in a strange tone, "What's wrong? Just because General Lin's daughter is so delicate, does that mean she can trample on other families' daughters?" Lin Cixi's eyes were filled with guilt. She hurriedly waved her hand and explained, "One didn't do it on purpose. Just now, she reached out to touch her face, but she was too guarded and accidentally pushed her. But she did not push her onto the table." Lin Cixi was even sadder when she saw Xiao Rux's injured forehead. She apologized sincerely to Xiao Ruxue. "I'm sorry. It was my fault." After apologizing, she wanted to leave this crowded place, especially when there were many women and none of them liked her. "Stop. Wasn't apology enough? Miss Lin, one don't know what's wrong with your face, But my daughter Rushue is a kind-hearted child. I can't watch her be bullied by you. Look at the injuries on her face. How will she meet people in the future and discuss marriage? Madame Xiao was meticulous, and her words were reasonable. Lin Cici's mother died when she was young. In the past, she would solve problems with a whip. After giving the whip to Su Yingxue, her temper softened a lot. She was in the wrong again, so she was a little discouraged. He'll apologize to her. I didn't do it on purpose. How can I make it up to her? She looked at Xiao Rushue with pity in her eyes. She had suffered from being ugly since she was young. She did not want Xiao Rushue to be like her. Compensation? Madame Xiao's eyes turned. Xiao Rushue was secretly delighted. She thought to herself that Lin Cici was just an idiot. She took the opportunity to cry pitifully in front of everyone. Mother, my face is injured like this. In the future, my marriage, I'm afraid it'll be difficult. Madame Xiao also sighed sadly. My poor daughter, how did you encounter such a thing? Lin Cici's sympathy was messed up by them. She bit her lip and blamed herself. I don't know how to make it up to you. If she was a man, she could marry Xiao Rushue and be responsible for her. But she was a girl. How could she compensate? She was the only daughter, and she didn't have any brothers at home. She couldn't possibly let Xiao Rushue marry her father, could she? Miss Lin accidentally hurt my daughter in front of everyone today. Do you want to make it up to her? Madame Xiao's eyes revealed a scheming look. Lin Cici's eyes were filled with sincerity. She nodded. I'm sincere. That's good. I heard that Miss Lin has already been bestowed as the imperial consort. Miss Lin, why not use your marriage to make amends for my daughter? Madame Xiao held Xiao Ruxue's hand. Xiao Rushue was beside her, sobbing softly. My marriage. No. Lin Cici refused without thinking. The imperial edict to bestow marriage was something Chu Jinling had begged for by cutting his face. She could not give it to anyone else. A hint of hatred flashed across Xiao Ruxue's eyes, and she immediately started crying. Mother, my face is ruined. What should I do in the future? Sob, sob, sob. Madame Xiao gently patted her back and snorted at Lin Cici. The daughter of a great general is just a person who goes back on her words. Everyone must protect your daughter well. If one day Miss Lin disfigures her, she will have no future. Chapter 344. Little Bitch Expert. Oh my God. Why is Lin Cici so unreasonable? Daughter, leave quickly. Daughter, you must stay away from her in the future. Otherwise, what if she ruins your face? I think she's just too shameless. She's jealous of someone else's beauty and wants to ruin it together. In a gathering of many women, even a trivial incident could quickly escalate. Every comment seemed to add a new shade to the story, turning it into widespread gossip. The impact of this chatter was often more damaging than the harshest prison sentence. Lin Cici had heard these words since she was young. She had finally gotten rid of the nightmares a few months ago, but now, these nightmares had returned to her, like a 1,000-pound boulder, instantly crushing her to the point of collapse. She covered her face and cried. I'm not like what you're saying. One was careless. If she didn't touch my face, I wouldn't have pushed her. Madame Xiao sneered. In that case, it's still my daughter's fault? Lin Cici bit her lip. She didn't blame Xiao Rushue, but of course, it's your daughter's fault. The man's slightly angry voice broke the group of women's insults towards Lin Cici. Chu Jinling quickly walked to Lin Cici's side and pulled her into his arms. His pure eyes clearly showed his disgust for the Xiao family's mother and daughter. If she didn't touch Cici's face, would Cici even bother with her? She deserves to be disfigured. Xiao Rushue was stunned on the spot, and her beautiful face instantly turned red. She was so embarrassed that she wanted to explain. Jinling, I'm just concerned about Miss Lin. Cici doesn't even know you, yet you care about her? You must have bad intentions. Chu Jinling's sharp eyes swept across her. Chu Jinling's eyes cut through her, sharp despite his youth. Lin Cici tried to explain. Jinling, she genuinely cares about me. It wasn't intentional. What care about you? She did it on purpose. You're wearing a veil, so it's inconvenient for you to show your face. Is she blind? She knew that it was inconvenient for you to show your face, but she still forced herself to care about you. Was this a concern? She deliberately wanted to see you make a fool of yourself. Chu Jinling pinched Lin Cici's cheek, his eyes filled with indignation. Lin Cici was stunned. She had only sympathized with Xiao Ruxue for her head injury and was concerned about her appearance. She had forgotten not everyone was like her. Frustrated, she pointed at Xiao Ruxue and her mother. I showed you kindness, and this is how you repay me. Xiao Ruxue cried harder. Miss Lin, how could you bully me just because my cousin is protecting you? We've been childhood friends for years, and he has never said a harsh word to me. But now, when she cried like that, everyone felt that Chu Jinling was a bit harsh. Women tend to speculate more, thinking that Chu Jinling was manipulated by Lin Cici. Having seen someone enjoying a new relationship while ignoring the emotional pain of an ex could have angered many women. Madame Xiao hugged Xiao Ruxue. Alas, our family is strict and unable to resort to such tactics. The ninth prince doesn't even listen to the noble consort anymore. Daughter, 111, find you a good match. Witnessing the Xiao family's plight, the women turned their collective anger toward Lin Cici, hurling insults at her. Lin Cici was livid and wanted to lash out. Who said we were childhood friends? Chu Jinling glared at the mother and daughter of the Xiao family. He didn't immediately support Lin Cici because he was trying to recall which relative of the Xiao family she was. Chapter 345. Noble consort Xiao doesn't like her after all. His mother's family was wealthy and had hundreds of people. It was really difficult for him to remember. However, he was certain. Before you called me cousin, could you first ask if I was familiar with you? Since I wasn't familiar with you, what was wrong with saying something harsh? Moreover, did you criticize General Lin's family principles for being lax? You even accused Cici of using objectionable methods. Madame Xiao and her daughter's expression stiffened. They were well versed in this rhetoric and tactic within women's circles, never having lost. But no man had ever interfered, speaking so clearly and directly. Madame Xiao's face turned livid. Ruxue and I didn't say that. Ninth Prince, don't malign us. Didn't one not hear you just now? And what right do you have to let Cici use her marriage to compensate for your daughter? She is my future imperial consort, and you wanted to exchange her for your daughter? On what grounds? Chu Jinling was like a proud fighting cock, showing no mercy as he peeled away inch by inch of the Xiao mother and daughter's pride. Xiao Ruxue's eyes instantly filled with jealousy. Lin Cici, that ugly freak. It was barbaric and rude. Why did she receive such desperate protection from Chu Jinling? She felt indignant and bit her lip as she said pitifully, Cousin, why are you so merciless? I'm just infatuated with you. One only care about Miss Lin because she is infatuated with you. The injury on my face is not worthy of Miss Lin's concern. She vaguely expressed her feelings for Chu Jinling, shyly and timidly. In front of Lin Cici, she appeared very weak and won everyone's sympathy. They immediately turned their focus on Lin Cici again, but before they could speak, Chu Jinling took the lead. It's good that you know your place. Cici is the daughter of a great general and the future imperial consort of me. Your injuries are not worthy of her concern. Also, you were injured on your forehead. Don't confuse your forehead with your face. Such a wound doesn't even require the summoning of the court physician. Ordinary doctors could treat it. Don't pity yourself too much. Such an injury wouldn't make you unmarriageable. If indeed you can't get married, you should reflect on yourself. Leaning against Chu Jinling, Lin Cici suddenly felt less frightened and embarrassed. She smiled, her eyes curving like the crescent moon. Chu Jinling was delighted to see this. The mother and daughter from the Xiao family seemed as if they had been scalded in boiling oil. Chu Jinling had completely stripped away their dignity. At this moment, they gritted their teeth in anger and unwillingness. Jinling, don't be disrespectful. Noble consort Xiao arrived. As soon as she appeared, she was surrounded by numerous palace attendants and two palace maids holding the train of her long skirt. To the astonishment of the women present, Noble Consort Xiao's trailing long skirt was inlaid with a circle of pearls threaded with gold, totaling more than 100. With just one palace gown, she exuded such magnificence and nobility, compelling submission. She extended her carefully maintained fingers and poked Chu Jinling's face. "How can you speak to your aunt and cousin like this?" Chu Jinling wasn't as brazen as before. In front of noble consort Xiao, he puffed up his face, acting like a cute child. They were the ones who bullied Cece first. "Oh, you're already protecting her like this before the marriage. After you're married, even one, as the mother, will have to consider her opinions, right?" Noble consort Xiao chuckled softly. Lin Cece's heart sank. For some reason, she felt noble consort Xiao's hostility. She didn't like her. Considering noble consort Xiao would be her mother-in-law in the future, she subconsciously lowered her head. Chu Jinling patted her to straighten her back and even held her hand, joining it with noble consort Xiao's hand. Chapter 346. Chu Jinling he tried to please and said with a smile, "Mother loves me the most. Cece is the one I love the most. Both of you are my treasures. Am happiest with you. Mother will surely be even happier in the future. You." Noble consort Xiao withdrew her hand and tapped Chu Jinling's nose, a flower-like smile overflowing from her lips. With Chu Jinling being so endearing, she didn't find Lin Cece as displeasing anymore. Lin Cece saw noble consort Xiao smiling at her. She sighed deeply. Chu Jinling whispered in her ear, "Don't worry, my mother is very kind." Lin Cece's eyes sparkled with sweetness. Xiao Rux's jealous eyes turned red. She gritted her teeth and signaled to the maid beside her, then nudged Lin Cece. "Cece, be careful." Chu Jinling embraced Lin Cece's waist, pulling her up, and the maid removed Lin Cece's veil from her face. Lin Cece's entire face was exposed. The maid quickly knelt, bowing her head. "I'm sorry, Miss Lin, it was not intentional one." She screamed, completely terrified. Lin Cece's face, "Oh my, why is her face so ugly?" I'm so scared." "Miss Lin, so you wore a veil because your face was injured?" Xiao Ruxue appeared urgently concerned, but harbored thick sarcasm in her heart. My face. My face." Lin Cece quickly crouched down, holding her head, surrounded by the mockery and screams of everyone. She trembled in fear. "I don't want this. I don't want to be scolded. One don't want." She broke down in tears. Chu Jinling helped her pick up the veil and put it back on, holding her tightly. "Cece, don't be afraid. Don't be scared. I'm here. My face has been seen." Lin Cece's tears flowed like a stream, her eyes filled with despair and heartbreak after being trampled upon. Chu Jinling's heart clenched painfully. Xiao Ruxue and Madame Xiao exchanged a glance, both looking triumphant. Xiao Ruxu muttered under her breath, "Ugly freak." Even with Chu Jinling protecting her, it couldn't change the fact of her extreme ugliness. "Cece, are you okay?" Suing Xue pushed through the crowd, running to her side. Lin Cece buried her head in Chu Jinling's embrace, crying uncontrollably. "One don't want to be here. I want to go home. I want to go home." "Okay, I'll take you home." A reddish tinge appeared in Chu Jinling's eyes, a hint of ferocity. He glared at the maid who had bumped into Lin Cece earlier, roaring, "Guards, drag her down and execute her by caning." "Cousin, she's my maid. It was just an accident." Xiao Rux's lips quivered. She couldn't believe Chu Jinling, usually playful and charming, could be so ruthless. "Do you want to be caned too? Guards, take them all away." Chu Jinling thundered. "Ninth Prince, have mercy. Noble consort, please have mercy." Fearing Xiao Ruxue might also be taken away, Madame Xiao hurriedly knelt, kowtowing to noble consort Xiao. Noble consort Xiao sat beside Chu Mingyuan, chuckling softly. "Can't you all hear what my linger said?" The palace guards dragged Xiao Rux's maid away, and her screams echoed outside the hall. Chu Jinling glanced at noble consort Xiao, who shook her head at him. He glared coldly at Madame Xiao and Xiao Ruxue. "I'm warning you. Whoever dares to bully Cece again, one don't care who you are. 111, personally chop off your heads." Chapter 347. Comparing Life to Poison. Bang. Xiao Ruxue's legs gave out, and she fell to the ground. Madame Xiao wore a shocked expression, her legs trembling. Chu Jinling took Lin Cece away, causing a collective gasp from everyone in the grand hall. Suing Xue, watching Lin Cece's departure, felt overwhelmed with guilt. Tsk, he is indeed a prince. When he loses his temper, he certainly makes a statement. Saint Ruan crossed his arms and laughed. Suing Xue glared at him in anger. You think that's making a statement? He was protecting the one he loved. If not for you, Cece wouldn't have faced such humiliation today. Saint Ruan stuck out his tongue. I just casually slipped her some poison. The poison you casually gave her is enough to ruin her entire life. Saint Ruan, you'll pay the price for this. Su Yingxue raised her head and clenched her fists tightly. Saint Ruan raised an eyebrow, suddenly hesitating to engage in a poison competition with Su Yingxue. She was genuinely interesting, but poisoning her to death would be such a waste. Miss Su, are you ready for your match with Mr. Ruan? The Empress, with a perpetual smile and regal composure, spoke softly at the front of the hall. Su Yingxue smiled back. Your Majesty, I am prepared. Saint Ruan stood at the side with his arms crossed. I'm ready too, but one suddenly don't feel like competing anymore. It's too much of a waste to poison this girl to death. Supporting his head, Saint Ruan, with a lazy charm in his eyes, said, Stupid girl, beg for mercy. Kneel and call me master, and 111 take you out of the palace to live freely. Saint Ruan, you're not worthy. Su Yingxue's smile carried a sharp edge, her words hitting Saint Ruan like a slap. Saint Ruan erupted in anger. Su Yingxue, don't come crying and begging to me later. Watch. Su Yingxue's expression remained stoic. Chu Mingyuan didn't say anything today. He didn't want to hold this competition. After all, Su Yingxue was Long Shuli's daughter. Long Shuli was a woman who had captivated many hearts. However, Su Yingxue's love for Chu Yihan meant he couldn't let her live. Su Yingxue, Saint Ruan, he finally called out. Both stood before him, listening as he addressed them. Since you both wish to compete, I will ensure fairness to prevent any injustices. However, this poison competition is akin to a battlefield, with life and death at stake. Are you both willing to sign a life and death contract, not blaming each other regardless of the outcome? Su Yingxue noticed a glint of intent to kill her in Chu Mingyuan's eyes. Saint Ruan smirked. Why not? I'm not afraid of this little girl. Saint Ruan signed the life and death contract sent by Chu Mingyuan. Glancing at Su Yingxue beside him, he mocked, It's not too late to beg for mercy now. After all, you're just a little girl. Spare yourself. Su Yingxue acted as if she hadn't heard him and signed her name on the contract. Turning to Saint Ruan, she declared, This is our only match, with lives at stake. You use your poison, 111 use mine. Fate decides life and death. My life's always been in my hands. Saint Ruan leaned close to Su Yingxue, blowing a provocative breath into her ear. Aren't you counting on Chu Yihan's influence? Why was he nowhere to be seen today? Got dumped? Su Yingxue had her doubts, but she never questioned Chu Yihan. She leaned closer to Saint Ruan and whispered something into his ear. Chapter 348. Saint Ruan was poisoned. Noble Consort Xiao's delicate face bore a look of doubt as she conversed with Granny Song beside her. What do you think? Su Yingxue said. How could she make poison? Dr. Saint Ruan's face turned so sour. Before entering the palace, she had seen Saint Ruan in the Xiao family, a person who was arrogant and dismissive of worldly matters. Granny Song replied solemnly, I can only sense that Miss Su might be in danger today. Noble Consort Xiao agreed with her words. After all, when Saint Ruan intended to poison someone, the king of the underworld seemed to favor him. Su Yingxue and Saint Ruan exchanged poisons. Their competition was very simple and crude. They poisoned each other, and whoever could concoct the antidote within 2 hours would be considered the winner. When Saint Ruan received Su Yingxue's poison, he almost instinctively ingested it. He had never believed Su Yingxue could poison him. Yet, the poison carried a sweet scent that echoed Su Yingxue's words in his mind. Saint Ruan, do you have any regrets in your life? He did. Su Yingxue's potion was his sole regret in decades. Intoxicating fragrance, Saint Ruan's eyes reddened, blood surged from his chest, and he abruptly expelled a mouthful of blood. Spurt. Su Yingxue watched him, a smile hinting at deeper meaning on her lips. Indeed, she had taken Saint Ruan's poison, and her condition was dire. In less than 15 minutes, she began to feel dizzy and almost fell. Her vision slowly darkened. Fortunately, her acupuncture skills were outstanding, and she quickly sealed her acupoints to prevent the poison from flowing. In her mind, little Ginseng was in a panic. This poison is potent. So potent. Little Ginseng was on the verge of vomiting. Su Yingxue entered the Medicine King Valley, and it only relaxed when she saw her gulping down a lot of spirit spring water. Su Yingxue had her mother's medical records in her mind. There were thousands of poisons in the world that had a cure. It was just a matter of whether she could find it. Saint Ruan liked to fight poison with poison. Over the years, he had been doing this for the majority of the time. Before the poison fully invaded her body, Su Yingxue took the antidote. After sitting for half an hour and sensing the poison's halt, she used a small knife to incise her hand, releasing the poisoned blood, effectively neutralizing the poison. However, just as she regained her senses, someone on the other side screamed, "Oh my God! The poison doctor is dead! The poison doctor is dead!" Saint Ruan collapsed before everyone's eyes. Men, summon the imperial physician. Chu Mingyuan quickly commanded. Saint Ruan, a genius in poisons, would be a loss if he perished. He hurriedly ordered the imperial physician to attend to him. However, when his gaze met Su Yingxue's, a hint of intent to kill inadvertently slipped into his eyes. She had defeated Saint Ruan. What terrifying strength she possessed. Facing Chu Mingyuan's gaze, Su Yingxue felt something amiss. As Saint Ruan was carried away, a gale swept through the palace gates. Chu Yihan appeared, his body exuding killing intent, his blade still stained with blood. He rushed to Su Yingxue and pulled her into his embrace, his voice urgent. "I'm late." An almost imperceptible smile crossed Su Yingxue's cold face. "Not late. Your Highness, I've won." She seemed like a child yearning for praise. Though her complexion hadn't fully recovered, Chu Yihan sighed in relief upon seeing her. However, his gaze towards Chu Mingyuan was sharp and bloodthirsty. "Are you deliberately obstructing me?" His tone was commanding. Speaking to Chu Mingyuan publicly, everyone in the hall knelt in fear. Su Yingxue rushed forward and grasped his hand. "Your Highness, don't be angry." Chapter 349. She wanted Chu Yihan to calm down. She didn't know why Chu Yihan hadn't appeared earlier, but upon seeing blood on his sword, she surmised that he had been stopped by Chu Mingyuan. Chu Mingyuan tightened his hands on his knees and spoke in a cold, forceful tone. "What's wrong? Ninth brother, are you trying to assassinate me in the palace for a woman?" "Emperor, your Highness doesn't mean that." Su Yingxue hurriedly helped clarify. "So what?" Chu Yihan's cold and bloodthirsty voice carried a murderous aura that could destroy the world. Su Yingxue looked at his reddened eyes, seemingly unable to control his temper. Leaning against him, she quickly advised, "Your Highness, don't engage in conflict with the Emperor." Chu Yihan entering the palace with his sword was already disrespectful in front of everyone. Any further offense would surely give the Emperor a reason to deal with him. "You truly are a good ninth brother of mine." Chu Mingyuan suddenly stood up. His eyes clashed with Chu Yihan's, and the entire hall brimmed with hostility. The Empress grew nervous. Men, apprehend the ninth prince. He wants to commit regicide. Chu Yihan's temper flared even more. His sword pointed towards the Empress, ready to strike her down with a single forceful move. The Empress fell back in fear onto her chair. Chu Qingye rushed to protect her. Imperial uncle, how dare you? What wouldn't I dare? Chu Yihan couldn't control the surging blood in his body. Just as he was about to rush over, Su Yingxue hugged his waist and tiptoed to kiss his earlobe. She comforted him gently. Your Highness, don't. Her words were a calming spring that extinguished the flames in Chu Yihan's heart. The blood in his eyes receded, and his mind cleared significantly. He lowered his head to nuzzle Su Yingxue's face. Thank goodness for you. Your Highness, what's wrong? Su Yingxue placed her hand on his chest, feeling his heart pounding rapidly as if blood was about to burst from his chest. As Chu Yihan calmed down, Chu Minjiwan's heart was ablaze with anger. He was almost able to provoke Chu Yihan to attack him. Just a move to kill the emperor would allow him to rightfully accuse Chu Yihan of treason and engage him in a deadly battle. But now, it was all ruined by Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue, he gritted his teeth. She not only defeated Saint Ruan, but also pacified Chu Yihan, who had killed countless people. Chu Yihan rubbed Su Yingxue's head. Despite his strong heartbeat, he had regained control of his emotions. He sheathed his Qingfeng sword. I had no intention of regicide, but should anyone in the Imperial Guards disrespect me, I will teach them a lesson to maintain the dignity of the Imperial family. Imperial brother, please understand. Chu Mingyuan clenched his fists. Of course, one won't take offense. He had set up heavy ambushes by the Imperial Guards precisely to provoke Chu Yihan's uncontrollable murderous intent, to have him bathe the Imperial Palace in blood. Now that Chu Yihan was back under control, those Imperial Guards had died in vain. Emperor, Your Highness was also concerned about the competition between Saint Ruan and me. Your Highness' presence shows your respect for the event. Su Yingxue smiled, swiftly turning the tide for Chu Yihan. Chu Mingyuan had no choice but to suppress his anger. I still must reward you. His words, spoken through gritted teeth by an emperor hinting at danger, carried a tone of veiled threat. Though Su Yingxue sensed the menace, she had no choice but to put on a brave face and thrust herself into the spotlight. This time, it's me who has won. I hereby announce that Su Yingxue defeated Saint Ruan. Chapter 350. Why didn't you say that it was inappropriate for you to raise me in public? Chu Mingyuan suppressed the anger in his heart and left after saying this. If he hadn't left, he might have ended up killing Su Yingxue on the spot. The Empress' face turned ashen. Chu Mingyuan had departed, leaving her to clean up the mess. Not only did she give all the rewards meant for Saint Ruan to Su Yingxue, but she also had to grit her teeth and watch everyone flatter her. Noble Consort Xiao sat at the top, her eyes slightly raised. She was so stunningly beautiful that it was beyond comparison. This Su Yingxue is truly intriguing. Granny Song, reward her. Yes, Your Majesty. When Su Yingxue left the palace, she pulled a cart full of rewards behind her. But at this moment, all she wanted was to return to the prince's mansion with Chu Yihan. In Chu Yihan's courtyard, she accompanied him until it was dark. Chu Yihan lay on the bed, his once handsome face devoid of color. Su Yingxue meticulously removed one silver needle after another. Her eyes reddened at the corners. Lowering her head, she gently kissed Chu Yihan's face. This was her way to keep herself from bursting into tears. When Chu Yihan woke up, Su Yingxue asked, How long have you been like this? Chu Yihan's expression remained calm. For 10 years. 10 years. Su Yingxue counted on her fingers. Over the past decade, Chu Yihan had mostly been engaged in battles outside, expanding the territory of the Great Qing dynasty and earning the title of the God of War across the 9 continents. However, she couldn't dare to fathom the dangers Chu Yihan faced in every battle. Once a bloody battle ensued, his emotions would spiral out of control, turning him into an unstoppable killing machine. If there were moments of lucidity, he would slowly regain control. But if there were none, she couldn't even imagine what Chu Yihan would become. Exhausted on the battlefield, bursting out in a blood frenzy, and then dying? Su Yingshi's hands trembled. She couldn't fathom that this was an ailment left from Chu Yihan's many years of warfare. It was also his weakness. Today, the emperor had used this weakness of his to trap her in the palace and compete with Saint Ruan. She was on the verge of life and death, and Chu Yihan would undoubtedly be agitated. Hence, he arranged defenses outside the palace, unleashing him into a massacre. Then, he would have penetrated the palace, assassinated the emperor, and started a rebellion. They would have charged him with the crime of a traitor and killed him. So ruthless. Don't be afraid. From now on, with you around, one won't lose control of my blood essence. Chu Yihan's lips curved slightly. Under the dim light, his deep, boundless eyes glittered with faint starlight. It was beautiful. Su Yingxue nestled into his arms. One genuinely wish one could be this helpful. You can. If you doubt it, you can try again. Chu Yihan lay on the bed, his once celestial face now radiant with a seductive aura, as if inviting her. Su Yingxue blushed and coughed twice. This is not proper. Your Highness, be serious. Did you consider what was proper when you publicly showed affection towards me today? Chu Yihan reclined slightly, his eyes lazily narrowed, exuding a lethal allure. Su Yingshi's heart began to wildly fluctuate. Stop tempting her. She couldn't resist the temptation. Right now, it's only you and me appropriate enough. Chu Yihan's low, sexy voice lingered in her ear. Su Yingxue turned and gently kissed his face. To hell with control. Su Yingxue didn't understand why, but as she kept kissing him, she ended up lying on his bed. Despite the blanket between them, she still felt his intense warmth. Your Highness, will you blame me for poisoning Saint Ruan? Su Yingxue peeked her head out from under the blanket, her exquisite eyes shimmering with a moist luster. Chapter 351. Plan for Chu Jinling. He is courting death by provoking you. Why should I blame you? Chu Yihan pinched her face and spoke casually. But you once let him cure the deadly plague, and he's a member of the Silver Moon Pavilion. Your relationship? Not good? Compared to you, I didn't have a good relationship with anyone. Su Yingxue clicked her tongue. He was heartless to others, but he doted on her. Su Yingxue snickered and became serious. To be honest, is your Highness on good terms with him? What is your relationship with Silver Moon Pavilion? Su Yingxue had been holding back this question for a long time. She thought that since they were already lying on the same bed, she should not hold on to her doubts and feel uncomfortable. Chu Yihan's hand that was pinching her face gently pressed against her face. The warmth in his palm flowed gently like the pouring moonlight. I and the Silver Moon Pavilion have occasionally cooperated. The peace talks between the Great Qing Dynasty and the Silver Moon Pavilion were initiated by me. The current Silver Moon Pavilion is only the tip of the iceberg. You have yet to understand its true strength. Chu Yihan's eyes were distant. Su Yingxue was even more puzzled. The tip of the iceberg? Isn't Hong Lian the pavilion master? The standard of an organization's leader was a good indicator of the standard of the entire organization. At the very least, Hong Lian wasn't invincible in Su Yingshi's eyes. She's just a manager. The Silver Moon Pavilion has two true pavilion masters, the East Pavilion Master and the West Pavilion Master. The East Pavilion Master is in charge of the Four Kingdoms, and the West Pavilion Master. It's been a long time since we've heard from him. Separated into two Pavilion Masters? Could it be that the West Pavilion Master was killed by the East Pavilion Master because of the competition? Su Yingxue made a bold guess. Chu Yihan smiled. The East Pavilion Master doesn't have that ability. The West Pavilion Master just doesn't want to deal with him. However, everyone always respects the East Pavilion Master. The West Pavilion Master has not appeared for many years. The East Pavilion Master is the West Pavilion Master's foster son. Suing Xue was speechless. How could the Silver Moon Pavilion be so complicated? However, hearing Chu Yuhan's tone, "Your Highness seems to be very familiar with the Silver Moon Pavilion. Moreover, Silver Moon Pavilion has never dared to make an enemy of your Highness." Suing Xue was very sure that even though Hong Lian was only a manager, she was very respectful to Chu Yihan. Other than the fact that she liked Chu Yihan, she was more afraid of him. "I have some relationship with the East Pavilion Master. However, it's best not to bring up such things since it's such a beautiful occasion." In short, with me around, the Silver Moon Pavilion won't dare to hurt you at all. However, if you provoke the Silver Moon Pavilion, Chu Yihan pinched her nose. "Oh, if I provoke the Silver Moon Pavilion, what will your Highness do?" Suing Xue was forced to raise her head and breathe through her mouth. Her nasal voice was rather cute. "Naturally, I'll let you provoke it." Chu Yihan leaned forward and kissed Suing Xue. In the imperial palace, the Empress was busy cleaning up the mess, while noble consort Xiao returned to her palace contentedly to pick out the rare treasures that the Xiao family had sent into the palace. In her palace, Xiao Ruxue and Madame Xiao had not left yet, and they had come crying to her. When noble consort Xiao saw the corpse they carried in, she frowned. "Throw it out. I can't bear to see this." Xiao Ruxue originally wanted to use the maid's corpse to gain noble consort Xiao's sympathy, but now, she immediately waved her hand and ordered people to carry the corpse away. She knelt in front of noble consort Xiao, covering half of her face and sobbing pitifully. "Aunt, one know it was my fault. This maid deserves to die. It's all her fault for ruining Jinling's mood. One will expose her corpse in the wilderness when we get back." Chapter 352. Saint Rowan saved himself. Noble consort Xiao sneered. "All right, since you're from the Xiao family, you should be smarter. Get up." She gestured for Madame Xiao and her daughter to take a seat. Madame Xiao thought noble consort Xiao would support them if they stayed. She began to complain about the incidents in the hall, speaking ill of Lin Cece, hoping to tarnish her reputation in front of noble consort Xiao. Noble consort Xiao listened casually, neither rebuking nor refuting. When Xiao Ruxue and Madame Xiao finished speaking, noble consort Xiao appeared as composed as ever, holding a pearl hairpin in her hand. She toyed with the hairpin. "Are you done?" Madame Xiao, holding Xiao Ruxue's hand, spoke respectfully. "Your Majesty, I know I tend to be long-winded, but am doing this for the 9th prince's sake. Please don't misunderstand. Linger is my favorite. One treat him the best. Madame Xiao, one heard you speak today out of consideration for your daughter's grievances. But don't forget, you brought this upon yourselves." Noble consort Xiao's languid tone carried a touch of coldness. Madame Xiao and her daughter immediately knelt. "Your Majesty, spare us. One truly. Enough." Impatience flashed in noble consort Xiao's exquisite eyes. "Let me tell you, even if Linger killed a maid or both of you, one wouldn't blame him. Whoever provokes him, 111 kill them. If you want your daughter to be Linger's imperial consort, then prove yourself. Even if Lin Cece is an eyesore, one won't object if Linger is devoted to her. But you, better not make my Linger angry again. Otherwise, I'll personally beat you to death." Noble consort Xiao impatiently tossed the pearl hairpin onto a plate. Madame Xiao and her daughter trembled in fear, quickly retreating. Granny Song approached noble consort Xiao, massaging her shoulders. "Your Majesty, if you consider the Xiao family's future, having a daughter of the Xiao family by the 9th prince's side would be wise. Miss Lin is only a descendant of a general. Once General Lin dies, the Lin family won't have much left." Noble consort Xiao rubbed her temples. "How could I not know? But whenever one see Linger angry, I want to beat those who angered him to death. Linger is my treasure. I can't bear to see him upset." Granny Song sighed softly. "Although your Majesty is reluctant, you can't watch over the 9th prince forever. Your Highness is pure-hearted and uninterested in the throne, so he won't have to worry about the future. But he still needs worldly experience. Or who will protect your majesty and the Shao family? Noble consort Xiao's heart sank. Granny Song's words echoed her thoughts. She had pampered Chu Jinling for years, but he would have to take responsibility for the Shao family someday. Glancing at the treasures from the Shao family, she instructed, Min, give all of these to Xiao Ruxue. Tell her to develop her skills. Granny Song smiled in relief. At the Marquis Manor, while Su Yingxue handled household matters, Ziwei returned. Su Yingxue glanced up from the account book at the young man, as cold as a statue. How did it go? Is Saint Ruan dead? Ziwei shook his head. He saved himself. Su Yingxue nodded. That old man is indeed reluctant to die. She had used intoxicating fragrance, a poison that Saint Ruan had abandoned midway in his research. Thus, he couldn't concoct an antidote on the spot. But it didn't mean he couldn't save himself with his medical skills. And so, he lived on. Chapter 353. Su Dingheng wanted to invite Lu Shulan and her daughter back. Su Yingxue pulled out the letter left by her mother. Her mother had written about Saint Ruan, particularly detailing the records about the intoxicating fragrance, which essentially was Saint Ruan's romantic life. Saint Ruan had exceptional talent as a young physician. He had a childhood sweetheart as his fiancée, whom he loved deeply. However, Saint Ruan was too wild and unbridled. Upon the prodigal's return, seeking to marry her, Saint Ruan discovered that his fiancée had married someone else. This rejection devastated Saint Ruan. In a fit of rage, he poisoned his fiancée's in-laws to death. He even slowly poisoned his fiancée, desiring to make her suffer lifelong. In the 10 years after he was betrayed, Saint Ruan developed poisons that were all targeted at women. The beauty-stealing poison was one of his proudest creations at the time. For every ounce of pain inflicted on women, he brewed poisons. However, her mother's letter disclosed that Saint Ruan watched his elderly fiancée die before his eyes. Tortured by Saint Ruan's poison for decades, she never asked him to detoxify her before she died. From then on, Saint Ruan became even more unrestrained. He altered his appearance to retain perpetual youth, roamed around, and at 70, still flirted everywhere. Tisk, incredibly lascivious. After reading the letter's final page, Su Yingxue inwardly cursed, Saint Ruan, this scoundrel. Betrayed once, he's betrayed so many women. Su Yingxue couldn't fathom that the handsome Saint Ruan turned out to be a 70-year-old man. From her mother's letter, she sensed both sympathy and a sense of deserved retribution towards Saint Ruan. So, following her mother's wishes, she applied the intoxicating fragrance to Saint Ruan. Looking at the letter, her mother's unrestrained words said, "Make Saint Ruan taste his poison. Even if he doesn't die, pierce his heart." Haha, Madame is truly amusing. Zhelan served tea to Su Yingxue and also spotted that line, unable to contain her laughter. Su Yingxue folded the letter, sipped her tea, and contemplated. Mother isn't just amusing. One always feels she doesn't belong here. I've never seen anyone more intriguing than her in the Great Qing dynasty. Not in this life or the previous one. Miss, Master wants to see you in the main hall. Zhelan informed her after she finished her tea. Su Yingxue tucked the cards away and went to Su Dingheng. Lately, Su Dingheng had been very indifferent to her. He was rarely in the Marquis Manor and rarely spoke to her. Even when he asked about the matters in the manor, he was very perfunctory, as if he treated her as an outsider. Of course, Su Yingxue knew that her father had never treated her as his daughter. "What's the matter, father?" she asked as usual. Su Dingheng didn't beat around the bush. "My birthday is approaching. Since you handle household affairs, organize a celebration for me." "Birthday celebration?" Su Yingxue mused. Su Dingheng was over 40 and not yet 50. Was he expecting a celebration for each scattered birthday? "What's the matter? Now that you're so prestigious and have made connections, You're unwilling to arrange a celebration for me? If you're not willing, relinquish control of the estate, and one won't bother you. Su Dingheng's impatience was evident, his eyes indifferent. The corner of Su Yingsha's lips curved mockingly. Of course, they'll organize father's celebration. However, I've handed over the estate's authority. Now that Sister Jean Yin has yet to marry into our family, does father have a suitable replacement for me? Chapter 354. Su Yingxue. In terms of hurting someone's feelings, Su Yingxue felt that no one could match her, especially when it came to hurting her father's feelings. Su Dingheng's hand trembled as he held the teacup, showing slight discomfort. If you're going to do it well. Father's doing it well. What requests do you have? Su Yingxue sat down calmly, having a chat with Su Dingheng. Surely, he wouldn't just request a birthday banquet without any underlying intentions for his enjoyment. Yingxue. Su Dingheng's voice carried a tone of helplessness. Now that your grandfather is away on an expedition and your brother has gone to the borders, in this huge Marquis manor, only you and I are left. It's so deserted. So, father, you mean to ask me to bring Lady Lu and Su Yuro back to celebrate your birthday? Su Yingxue raised an eyebrow, her eyes emitting a chill. Su Dingheng earnestly responded, "Isn't that the right thing? At my age, I simply want to enjoy family happiness." Su Yingsha's tone turned cold. Of course it is. Since father has said it, he'll do it. After finishing, she stood up and left. The aura of coldness around her even made Su Dingheng feel a bit afraid. He sat in the hall for a while, only to confirm that Su Yingxue had agreed to the matter. It was unusually smooth. Su Yingxue agreed to arrange a birthday banquet, but she didn't agree to invite back Lu Shulan and her daughter. Zhilan saw Su Yingxue preparing for the birthday banquet and was furious. The Marquis is making things too difficult for you. Despite knowing Lu Shulan and her daughter's ill intentions, Su Yingxue was expected to invite them back. Wasn't this a humiliation to Su Yingxue? Do you think I'd invite them back? Su Yingxue glanced at the guest list, her lips curling with coldness. But didn't Miss promise the master to let them return? Xilan's eyes were filled with doubt. I won't refuse if they come back on their own, but they're not worthy of being invited by me. Su Yingsha's tone was filled with arrogance. Pass this guest list to the steward for preparations. Have him write the invitations himself. Also, go to the Thousand Jiao Pavilion and let Sister Jinyan know who I've invited. Su Yingxue swiftly completed her tasks and went asleep. Zhilan checked the list and saw a name, admiringly exclaiming, "Miss is truly clever, as expected of Madame's daughter. How intriguing." In Yaguang Garden, Su Yuro finally regained her spirits after being comforted by Lu Shulan for a while, along with Su Dingheng's affection. But seeing that Su Yingxue hadn't yet come to ask them back, Su Yuro couldn't contain her impatience. "Mother, why hasn't Su Yingxue come to ask us back? Father's birthday banquet is just 2 days away. Is she going to embarrass father?" Lu Shulan, holding a flower, tried to soothe Su Yuro. "Don't be too hasty, or you might fall into Su Yingsha's trap again. I'm just angry. I won't return until she comes to beg me. Even if she does beg, I want her to kneel before I'll agree." Su Yuro was so proud that she forgot how harshly Su Yingxue had taught her. She was living in a dream. Lu Shulan, worried about her becoming despondent again, gave her some money to buy clothes and jewelry to lift her spirits. While arranging flowers alone, doubts about her plan began to spread. Her plan would surely make things difficult for Su Yingxue, but it had only just started, and she couldn't yet grasp Su Yingsha's strategy. Chapter 355. Bait. She had promised Su Dingheng, but she had not come to invite them. How could she be so sure what tricks they would use? Lu Shulan was lost in her thoughts and snapped the flower stalk in her hand. "Su Yingxue, what are you thinking?" Suyuro had originally wanted to spend money and buy things to cheer herself up. However, after buying everything, she overheard people discussing, "The day after tomorrow is the Marquis' birthday banquet. What are you guys going to wear? Of course, we have to dress up nicely. I heard that the 7th prince is going, and Chu Jinling, the 9th prince too. Maybe even Chu Yihan, the 9th prince will attend. But they both have someone they love. The 9th prince is already betrothed. So what? He already had an imperial consort, but he didn't have a secondary consort. Moreover, the marriage between the 7th prince and the 9th prince had not been decided yet. Before they got married, who knew what would happen? If we work hard, even if we can't be the main consort, wouldn't it be nice to be the secondary consort?" Of course, it sounded great. That was what Suyuro thought. But why did she only find out now that the 7th prince was going to the Marquis' birthday banquet? She hurried back to Yaoguang Garden with a huge pile of things she had bought and threw herself into Lu Shulan's arms. "Mother, I want to return to the Marquis Manor to attend father's birthday banquet." Lu Shulan frowned. "What's the rush? Suing Shue will come to invite us. If she doesn't come and invite us, how others will think if you go back?" Previously, they had moved out to force Suing Shue. Taking the initiative to return now would be shameful. "Mother, the 7th prince will be attending the birthday banquet. Suing Shue invited him. There are also several other princes and the 9th prince." Suyuro couldn't help but cry, her red eyes filled with jealousy. Lu Shulan's eyes turned cold as she slammed her fist on the rosewood table. "Suing Shue, this is her plan." "What plan?" "You." Lu Shulan looked at Suyuro with disappointment. "You care about the 7th prince, so you'll want to return to the Marquis Manor. Suing Shue invited the 7th prince, so you have no choice but to return." If Suyuro couldn't win over the 7th prince's heart, she wouldn't be able to marry into the prince's residence in the future. As a mother, she had to think about her daughter. Suing Shue had only invited the 7th prince alone, but she had already forced the mother and daughter to obediently return to the Marquis Manor. The scenario of Suing Shue humbly inviting them had been shattered. Suing Shue, how could she be so despicable? Suyuro cried out in panic. "If I go back, it would be embarrassing. But if I don't go back, what if she seduced the 7th prince?" He was already smitten by her. Nothing was more devastating for Suyuro than seeing her beloved with her love rival. "Mother, why don't we go back?" Suyuro pitifully lowered her head and begged weakly. Lu Shulan was so angry that her face turned ashen. At this point, do we still have a reason not to go back? It was impossible for Suing Shue to come and beg them in Yaoguang Garden. However, she wouldn't let Suing Shue off too easily. In Fengzhou Palace, today, Chu Chengye had arrived 2 hours early to pay his respects, and the Empress had not finished dressing up. Lu Fu came to report, "Your Majesty, the 7th prince is waiting outside to pay his respects." The Empress sat in front of the dressing mirror, being attended to. She curled her lips coldly. Lady Lu was right. He came early. Suing Shue had captivated her son. This bitch. Chapter 356. The Empress encouraged them. Chu Chengye had changed out of his court clothes. Before he came, he had put on a moon-white robe embroidered with dragons and auspicious clouds, which made him look tall and handsome. He had replaced the golden crown on his head with a jade crown, perfectly matching his elegant appearance. The Empress came out after dressing up. Seeing her son dressed so immaculately, she teasingly asked, "Where is my son off today? So cheerful." "Greetings, Mother. I have no urgent matters today, so I plan to attend a banquet." Chu Chengye smiled, his appealing demeanor captivating even the Empress. However, the Empress' demeanor turned cold, her tone chilling. Whose residence? Originally, Chu Chengye had intentionally concealed the truth. He knew that his mother did not like Suing Shue. However, it was rare for him to receive an invitation from Suing Shue. After arriving early to pay his respects today, he had planned to swiftly go to Su Yingshu's side for the banquet. Now, Chu Qingye decided to disclose the truth to the Empress. Today is the birthday banquet of the Marquis of Martial South. You wish to see Su Yingshu, right? The Empress sneered. Mother, please calm down. Sensing the Empress' anger, Chu Qingye obediently knelt. Forget it. I also have a gift here. Take it to Su Yingshu. The Empress gestured, and Lu Fu handed Chu Qingye a box. Upon seeing a bright yellow silk cloth inside, Chu Qingye was slightly taken aback. Mother, this decree. At the Marquis Manor, Su Yingshu hosted her third banquet at the residence, already showing great finesse. Guests were delighted, and even those who once held grudges couldn't help but curry favor. Su Yingshu graciously accepted everyone. Approaching noon, it was almost time for the banquet to begin. Su Dingheng came over, his face grim. Did you invite Shulan and Ruer? Why haven't they arrived yet? Are you deliberately depriving me of family happiness? Su Yingshu's eyes narrowed slightly, her voice indifferent. Father, the banquet hasn't commenced. No need to worry. With Chu Qingye's appearance today, Su Yuro and Lu Shulan would surely come. But Chu Qingye had yet to arrive. The seventh prince has arrived. Someone announced loudly at the door. Su Yingshu's lips curled slightly. Father, don't worry. They'll be here soon. Su Dingheng, though displeased, had to accompany Su Yingshu to the door to welcome Chu Qingye. Chu Qingye's arrival made quite an impression. All the young miss blushed at his peerless charm. He held a bright yellow silk cloth and was accompanied by Lu Shulan and her daughter. Su Yingshu frowned slightly. She intended to step forward to greet him, but Chu Qingye spoke coldly. Marquis of Martial South, Su Yingshu accepts the edict. Quickly, Su Dingheng knelt. Seeing Su Yingshu still standing, he tugged at her clothes. What are you doing? Hurry and kneel to accept the decree. Su Yingshu knelt, her brows furrowing slightly. Lady Lu is wise, dignified, and virtuous, suitable to be bestowed the title of concubine to the Marquis of Martial South. Her daughter, Su Yuro, is learned, elegant, and charming, suitable to be named County Lord of Rouching. All in the Marquis Manor of South shall be rewarded. After Chu Qingye read the decree, Su Dingheng joyfully received it. He approached Lu Shulan and her daughter, beaming. Laner, Ruer, you can finally enter the manor legitimately. The Empress' decree not only admitted Lu Shulan, but also honored Su Yuro with the title of County Lord, elevating her status to match Su Yingshu's. In front of Su Yingshu, Su Yuro held her chin high, displaying a proud demeanor. Chapter 357. Rules? Su Yingshu slowly stood up. Her beautiful face was covered with a layer of frost. The Empress had intentionally made Lu Shulan a concubine and even made Su Yuro the county lord, allowing them to enter the Marquis Manor in glory. In order to attack her, she didn't hesitate to raise the status of Lu Shulan and Su Yuro. Su Yingshu's lips curled up coldly. The Empress had put in a lot of effort. Su Yingshu, why aren't you accepting the decree? Chu Qingye looked at her coldly and seemed very dissatisfied. As a prince, he had received much attention since he was young. Today, when he came dressed up, Su Yingshu didn't even look at him. She even ignored his mother's orders, which made him very unhappy. Empress' decree did not mention me, so why should one accept it? Su Yingshu's performance was decent, but her tone carried a hint of arrogance. Su Yingshu, Chu Qingye gritted his teeth. Every time he saw her being so unyielding, he wanted to teach her a lesson and make her kneel in front of him so that she would give in to him. Your Highness, sister has worked so hard for the birthday banquet. I think she is not happy because she didn't get a reward. Please don't hold it against her, Su Yuro said considerately. The smile on her face was bright and beautiful. She seemed to be considerate of Su Yingshu, but it made everyone more and more clear that no matter how much Su Yingshu did, she was only a daughter of the Marquis Manor. However, she and her mother were valued by the Empress. This was something that Su Yingxue couldn't compare to. Zhilan stood behind Su Yingxue with an angry look in her eyes. What's there to be proud of? She was merely rewarded by the Empress. Had her miss not been rewarded by the Emperor before? Congratulations to Aunt for entering the residence. Since Aunt has returned to the residence, let's start a banquet to celebrate Father's birthday. Su Yingxue glanced at Zhilan and told her to hold it in and not say anything else. Zhilan immediately restrained her expression and became cautious. Lu Shulan waved her sleeves and walked in front of Su Yingxue. With a gentle expression, she said, Yingxue, one know that it is hard for you to be in charge, but you have organized this birthday banquet for Marquis in a rather shabby manner. The banquet is held in the reception hall, and I don't know if the preparations are sufficient. If I were to be in charge, one would make Marquis' birthday banquet more dignified. Su Yingxue's eyes were cold. Lu Shulan came in with the identity of an aunt, and she wanted to take her down a notch. Zhilan could answer without her asking, Lady Lu, because it is not Master's birthday. Mrs. followed the old rules of the Marquis manor. The banquet is sufficient, and the 4 divisions and 6 chefs have backups. There is nothing that is not presentable or shabby. Lu Shulan's eyes flashed with a cold light. I'm talking to the eldest young Mississippi. Do you think a maid like you has the right to interrupt? Smack. Su Yuro stepped forward and slapped Zhilan. 5 fingerprints instantly appeared on Xilan's fair face. She bit her lip. I'm just answering the question on behalf of Mississippi. Smack. Besides Su Yuro, Yuan Ruo slapped Zhilan again and shouted with a stern expression, You're just a lowly servant. How dare you call yourself me in front of Aunt and the county lord? You deserve a beating. You! Zhilan covered her face and retreated. Su Yingxue did not react, so she endured this grievance. But just as she retreated, Su Yingxue smiled and said, The first thing you want to do when you enter the residence is to talk about rules with me, right? In the past, Lu Shulan did not have any status and could only lower herself. Now that she and Su Yuro had status, the aura on her body was different. Yingxue, I shouldn't have done this today, but since I've entered the residence and am your elder, I have to teach you well. All right. Su Yingxue curled her lips and pulled out the red jade soft whip from her waist. She immediately threw it at Su Yuro and her servant. Chapter 358. Father, you want to punish me? The red jade soft whip was as fast as lightning, as swift as a serpent, leaving sharp marks on Su Yuro and Yuan Ruo's bodies. Pa, pa. Su Yingxue administered 2 lashes to each of them, causing Su Yuro and Yuan Ruo to fall to the ground in agony. Lu Shulan's expression drastically changed. Ruer. She hastily assisted Su Yuro. Though Su Yingxue didn't target her face, the whip left open wounds on her body. Su Yuro cried out, Su Yingxue, how dare you hit me? Sister, this was Aunt's directive. She intended to discuss rules with me first. Su Yingxue gently stroked the whip, her eyes sharp and cold. Su Yingxue, what are you doing? Shulan reminded you of the rules, but you resorted to violence. Is that what the rules dictate? Su Dingheng hurriedly intervened. He had originally wanted to happily bring Lu Shulan and her daughter back to the manor today. He couldn't be happier that both of them had a status. But now, Su Yingxue had injured Su Yuro with a whip. Of course, it's part of the rules. Father and Aunt suggested my maid had no right to interrupt. Does that imply sister's maid does? Both are maids. What's wrong with me teaching an insolent maid a lesson? Su Yingxue remained composed. Su Dingheng was momentarily stunned. But you accidentally injured your sister. Sister, it wasn't accidental. It was a lesson for her, too. Su Yingxue corrected. Su Dingheng felt a lump in his throat. Lu Shulan was indignant. Eldest young miss, it's justifiable to discipline a maid. But why did you whip my Ruer until her skin broke? After Lu Shulan spoke, her eyes teared up, accusing Su Yingxue of being ruthless. Su Yingxue calmly addressed the situation. Aunt is new here. Allow me to clarify a rule. In this Marquis manner, if a servant errs, it reflects poorly on the master's training. It's our responsibility to correct them. I disciplined my younger sister as a warning. She needs to properly manage her servants. If she recklessly inflicts harm, she'll share in the punishment. Su Yingshi's explanation seemed reasonable. Although the rules were strict, within a household of military background, such severity was deemed common by the guests. Consequently, they didn't see Su Yingshi's actions against Su Yuro as unjustified, especially since Su Yuro initiated the altercation. Your maid also erred. Why don't you punish yourself? Despite her injuries, Su Yuro gnashed her teeth, pointing at Su Yingxue. The only one who can punish me in this household is father. Turning away, Su Yingshi's indifferent gaze held a trace of sharpness. Father, are you going to punish me today? Su Dingheng felt choked by this internal conflict. Today was his birthday banquet, and Su Yingxue had overseen everything. If he punished her, who would handle affairs? Wouldn't that publicly humiliate himself? With a darkened expression, Su Dingheng instructed Lu Shulan, take Ruer for treatment. Yes, Marquis. Lu Shulan complied, though she seemed unwilling. Su Yuro openly wept, but Lu Shulan prevented her from creating a scene. Meanwhile, Chu Chengye, standing aside, noticed Su Yingxue continuing to entertain guests, deliberately ignoring him. He seethed with anger. His mother's words reverberated in his mind. You value Su Yingshi's invitation today, but she's just using you. Chapter 359. Cousin Su Han Su Yingxue didn't have time to deal with Chu Chengye. After the banquet ended, she found a pavilion and sat down, quietly contemplating the reason for the Empress favored Su Yuro and her mother. Zhelan attended to her, softly whispering, Miss, someone is here. Somewhat weary, Su Yingxue opened her eyes and saw a woman in an elegant azure gown, holding a thin veil. She adorned her head with a jade hairpin, a symbol of her status. Tassels accompanying her soft laughter produced a crisp sound. Did I disturb sister's rest? Su Han smiled faintly, her pure beauty carrying a touch of grace. Su Yingxue smiled and gestured to the seat in front of her. Su Han, please have a seat. Su Han was her uncle's daughter, well-educated since childhood. Born into the Marquis manor, and with her father serving in the Ministry of Works, she was destined for a good match. But what was even more fortunate was her marriage to the prince's mansion in Yangon County. It had left all the women of the Su family envious. At the time of her marriage, Su Yingxue was still quite young, but she remembered her cousin before her marriage, radiating a scholarly aura, holding books, resembling a painting's fairy. Now, that fairy-like countenance seemed somewhat fatigued by the world, and the scholarly aura had waned. Su Han took the initiative to seek Su Yingxue out, speaking with enthusiasm. It's been a while, sister. You've become shrewder and more dignified after taking charge of the Marquis manor. Su Han was genuinely surprised to see Su Yingxue today. Locked within the prince's mansion in Yangon County, she couldn't meet often, but she had heard numerous rumors about Su Yingxue, quite different from the sister in her memories. Seeing her today was indeed extraordinary. However, Su Yingxue sensed something different in her cousin's words. She propped up her cheek. Cousin, do you think I've been too forceful in asserting my authority today? If sister asks, they'll be candid. In my view, yes, Su Han replied, fanning herself, her eyes holding a deep meaning. Seeing Su Yingxue waiting for her to continue, she added, although you disciplined Aunt Lu and her daughter today, it left a pitiful impression on them in front of everyone. Firstly, it's not good for your reputation. Secondly, if Aunt Lu causes trouble in the future, the relationship between second uncle and you might be endangered. Relationship? Su Yingxue sneered. I don't care about that. But you're not married yet. Some things require consideration. However, since Aunt Lu covets the power you hold, second uncle will still have the final say in the Marquis manor, Su Han advised carefully, every word sincere. Su Yingxue nodded. I understand, Su Han. I won't create conflicts in public in the future. But, if you're here, is there something I can help you with? Su Yingxue's relaxed demeanor eased Su Han's tension. People don't visit without reason, Su Yingxue thought. Although Su Han was her cousin, she wouldn't come to talk if it wasn't necessary. Su Han's scholarly aura was shrouded in a sense of helplessness. Indeed, I've come to ask sister for help today. I'd like sister to diagnose me, check my pulse, and examine my body. Su Yingxue's brow furrowed slightly. Is cousin unwell? Let me take your pulse. Su Yingxue reached out and felt Su Han's pulse. Su Han's words were tinged with a deep bitterness. Sister, you're not married yet, so you don't understand the agony of a woman without children. It's been 3 years since I married, and I still haven't born a child. It's distressing. Chapter 360. Stomp her to pieces, Su Han. I'm afraid you're not just uncomfortable, but you've also faced a lot of hardship, haven't you? Su Yingxue's eyes held a touch of sympathy. She took Su Han to her room, had her undressed, and lay on the bed. After a simple examination, she diagnosed Su Han's 3-year infertility. Pressing on Su Han's abdomen, she asked, Do you experience irregular menstruation and frequent abdominal pain? Su Han nodded. Sometimes, the pain is unbearable, especially during my period. It's a continuous discomfort even when I drink water. Su Yingxue brought out pen and paper, writing as she spoke. Your meridians are blocked. There's a heavy chill in your abdomen, compounded by daily exertions, severely weakening your body, hence the inability to conceive. Nervously clutching her chest, Su Han spoke with anxiety. Sister, can you cure me? One need a child. Perhaps Su Yingxue couldn't fathom the tribulations of marrying into a prince's mansion. But now, other than bearing children, she had no other recourse. Su Yingxue chuckled softly. Didn't you teach me how to handle Lady Lu for the sake of healing you? If I fail, wouldn't I let you down? Su Han blushed. Despite my self-interest, we, the direct line, still hope you can lead a good life. Don't let those villains take advantage, turning the Marquis Manor into chaos. Finishing the prescription, Su Yingxue handed it over, saying, Don't worry. I won't disgrace the Su family's legitimate daughter. Su Han smiled, carefully keeping the prescription. Just as Su Yingxue was about to see her off, she hesitated and asked, Sister, do you have golden wound medicine for treating injuries? Su Yingxue instructed Jilan to fetch a bottle. As a doctor, I naturally have all kinds of medicine. Is someone injured in sister's household? Su Han shook her head. Since sister helped me today, they'll help you again. Just watch. Sometimes, a few words can hurt a woman more than a whip. Su Han's eyes held a deeper meaning. She headed towards Su Yura's sunset court. Curious, Su Yingxue brought Jilan to observe from outside. After a while, Su Han was pushed out by Su Yuro, holding the golden wound medicine. She fell, the bottle shattered, looking pitiable and disheveled. Having married into the regional prince's mansion, Su Dingheng naturally rushed over. Hainer? What happened? Quick, get up. Seeing her injuries, Su Dingheng promptly helped her up. Su Han had always been seen as dignified and refined. Yet now, speaking with a sigh, it seems as a regional princess, am not worthy to deliver medicine to Sister Yuro. Hence, my present state. She turned to Su Dingheng. Second uncle, one was concerned for Sister Yuro. I brought her the medicine, but I ended up injured. I wonder how the regional prince will blame her. 111 Take my leave now. She departed swiftly, denying Su Dingheng any chance to apologize. Su Dingheng was furious. Turning, he slapped Su Yuro. Ungrateful child. Have you lost your mind? Hainer is the princess of Yangon County. She kindly brought medicine for you, and you've hurt her. Being a county lord doesn't make you superior to the Yangon County princess. You're simply foolish. Father, she provoked me. She didn't sincerely come to see me. She did it on purpose. Su Yuro pleaded in the grievance. If she had pushed someone else, Su Dingheng might have listened. But now, Su Dingheng left, not sparing her a glance. Su Yuro's pride in being appointed county lord was shattered in an instant. Chapter 361. Beautiful man in front. Su Yingxue curled her lips. Su Han indeed lives up to being the regional princess, quite formidable. Miss, one need to learn this technique from Miss Han. Xylan's eyes sparkled. Giving Su Yuro a taste of her whip was satisfying, but causing her injury and embarrassment was even more enjoyable for Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue thought there was a saying, playing the innocent card but leaving no escape for the manipulator. Su Yingxue. The man's deep voice resonated with suppressed anger. Su Yingxue suddenly turned around, spotting Chu Chengye standing there. She replied indifferently, "Seventh Prince." About to leave, she disregarded Chu Chengye as if he were air. Chu Chengye couldn't contain himself and grabbed her hand. "What do you take me for? A pawn? A tool to be used and then discarded?" A hint of surprise flickered in Su Yingxue's eyes. "You react quite swiftly, as expected of the prince valued by Chu Mingyuan. You." Chu Chengye grew even angrier. How could he be so spineless and let her use him? Clearly, he didn't need to come today. However, when the Marquis Manor invitation was delivered to him, he couldn't help but be moved. He cornered Su Yingxue. He was too angry. "What do you take me for? Even if you were using me, you didn't write that invitation yourself. After Lu Shulan and her daughter returned, you didn't even cast a glance." Su Yingxue looked at him calmly. "Because you've lost your value. Don't you understand, Your Highness?" Chu Chengye took a deep breath, closing his eyes. He knew. How could he not know? "Su Yingxue, is there still a place for me in your heart?" Chu Chengye's voice trembled when he asked. He had to admit that Su Yingxue had occupied a significant place in his heart. She had gradually taken over. But as his eyes avoided hers, he dared not meet Su Yingxue's gaze, afraid of her coldness, afraid of not being in her eyes anymore. But not looking didn't mean Su Yingxue would spare him. Breaking free from Chu Chengye's hold, she pushed him away. "Seventh Prince, it's time to wake up. You've never been in my heart." From the moment she opened her eyes, Chu Chengye had died in her previous life. This time, he was just one of the people she had to deal with. Possess her heart? He is dreaming. Su Yingxue thought. "Su Yingxue, will make you regret this." Chu Chengye growled, bloodshot eyes filled with resentment. Su Yingxue was supposed to be his. Disregarding him, as night fell, she stealthily entered the ninth prince's mansion. Though she claimed to have infiltrated, she merely scaled a wall and confidently strolled into the ninth prince's mansion. Then, she barged into Chu Yahan's room. There was a hint of dampness in the air, and Su Yingxue caught the fragrance of rain. It was delightful. Especially when the robust figure of a man appeared before her. His restrained aura mixed with that fragrance. Amid the visual and olfactory collision, Su Yingxue felt sparks in her eyes. "Your Highness, why aren't you properly dressed?" She swiftly turned around, tilting her head to prevent a nosebleed. "Want to gift the story? Try one." Chapter 362. Lu Shulan's destruction. Chu Yahan's voice carried a hint of seductive laziness. "You barged into my room and blamed me for not wearing clothes?" "You?" Su Yingxue bit her lip. "Then wear it well. Can you not flaunt your good figure so late at night?" "Oh." Chu Yahan's voice was indifferent. He leaned lazily on the couch. Su Yingxue turned around and saw this terrible scene. She walked to Chu Yihan's side as if surrendering and reached out to him. Hug. With a handsome man in front of her, she couldn't resist the temptation of this beauty. Chu Yihan was holding a military book in his hand. His aloof and abstinent appearance made it even more difficult for people to control themselves. Su Yingxue took a deep breath and sat in his embrace. She bit his shoulder. "What is your highness doing today? Aren't you going to the Marquis Manor to play? What's so fun about it? To see you and my nephew catch up?" As soon as he said this, Chu Yihan's body carried a hint of bleak, killing intent. Su Yingxue looked up with sparkling eyes. "Your highness went and you still peeked?" Bang! Chu Yihan knocked her head with a book. "Why would I peek?" He climbed over the wall openly and stood on top of it. Was that peeping? Su Yingxue was in pain. She covered her head and muttered, "You were peeking. How dare you hit me?" Chu Yihan looked at her puffy face and couldn't help but kiss her. It was cold at night after autumn, but fortunately, he could see her every night, and there was a moment of warmth. Lu Shulan and her daughter had a status and entered the Marquis Manor. They were no longer as low-key as before and were no longer subservient. Every day, Lu Shulan would drag Su Yingxue to the manor to interrogate her about the matters that she was handling. After that, she would go down to carry out her orders. Every time she interrogated her, it would delay her for 15 minutes. The more she interrogated, the more 1 or 2 matters in Marquis Manor would be delayed. Old Madame Zhang reported the situation of the courtyards, the 4 divisions, and the 6 chefs to Su Yingxue. Zhilan also held some cards that had yet to be distributed and frowned. "Miss, in the long run, there will be too many delays in the residence. There will be complaints, and they won't blame Aunt Lu. Instead, they will all blame you, miss, for not doing your job well." Su Yingxue examined the accounts in the residence and said indifferently, "This is what she's planning. In less than a month, Father will use this reason to confiscate my authority as the steward. Miss, we can't just sit around and let things escalate like that." Zhilan immediately became nervous. "Of course not." Su Yingxue raised her head. "Call old Madame Zhang over and tell me about the situation in the residence." Old Madame Zhang came over quietly and explained in detail. For example, Lu Shulan wandered around the residence every day and checked everywhere. Although she did not have any real power, she was always giving pointers. Moreover, Su Dingheng doted on her, so the people in the residence had to give her face. On the other hand, Su Yingxue was the steward, and Lu Shulan was giving orders. The servants were also in a difficult position. Gradually, the hearts of the servants began to waver. Su Yingxue drank a cup of tea. As expected, Lu Shulan has started to counterattack. There is one more thing. Miss must be careful. One noticed that there were always people wandering around the accounting room. Miss account book and token must be kept well. If the person who is concerned about it steals it, Miss' previous efforts will be in vain. Old Madame Zhang tried her best to persuade her. This reminded Su Yingxue that after Zhilan sent her away, she brought a new account book and copied it all over again. Then, she gave Zhilan a piece of wood. "I remember that you know how to carve." Chapter 363. Chu Qingye seized clinic. Zhilan nodded. "What do you want to engrave, miss?" Su Yingxue handed her a pair of tokens and asked her to carve an identical one. Zhilan chuckled. Su Yingxue's thinking was indeed clever. Now, they were just missing an opportunity to go out and avoid being taken advantage of. "Miss, something's not right." Lai San rushed to Marquis Manor, looking like he was being chased by a hungry wolf. "What happened?" Su Yingxue asked, seeing his disheveled state. If it were nothing urgent, he wouldn't have appeared in Marquis Manor like this. "Miss, a group of people came today, claiming the clinic was harboring fugitives. They took away a patient, Manager Qi, and all the doctors. Manager Qi told me to escape the chaos and inform you." I had no choice but to crawl through Marquis Manor's dog hole. Lysan was very anxious. Harboring fugitives, Su Yingxue furrowed her brows slightly. Who came to apprehend them? Where did they go? I don't know, but I've been begging for years. One recognized their clothes. They seemed to be officials from the Ministry of Justice. Lysan gestured. Su Yingxue pondered for a moment. The Minister of Justice currently had no connection with their family and was an honorable official. Why would they directly arrest the clinic's people? Miss, could the clinic be harboring a fugitive? Jilan was somewhat frightened. It's unlikely. Manager Qi only treated a patient with severe injuries. Dr. Qin had just administered medicine. He hadn't even written a prescription when the people from the Ministry of Justice stormed in to make arrests. I feel there's something suspicious about this. Lysan scratched his head. Despite being a former beggar, he was knowledgeable. Such matters were usually traps. However, who set the trap and how exceeded his understanding? Su Yingxue didn't know if the clinic harbored fugitives, but she recalled something. Apart from the Minister of Justice, Chu Qingye was also in charge of the Ministry of Justice. He had threatened her just the day before yesterday. Su Yingxue's lips curved into a sharp arc. She had Jilan find some sturdy wooden planks, then headed straight to the Ministry of Justice. As Su Yingxue left the door, she spotted a shadow sneaking into the accountant's room, a hint of mockery in her eyes. In the Ministry of Justice's prison, Su Yingxue revealed the cold jade on her neck and easily located the cell where Manager Qi and the others were held. Upon seeing Su Yingxue, Manager Qi and the others brightened up. Miss, Su Yingxue gestured with her hand. Don't panic. Tell me everything in detail. They'll figure out a way to save you. All right. Manager Qi's relieved heart settled. Su Yingxue's composed demeanor was extremely reassuring. He briefed Su Yingxue. She realized that the seriously ill person Manager Qi took in was a fugitive and was likely intentionally placed at the clinic. We don't know where the fugitive is being held. Miss, he's close to death. If he dies, everyone in our clinic will have a hard time explaining. Manager Qi's expression held worry. Su Yingxue nodded. They'll go save him. You all stay here. She turned and questioned the jailer. Where is the fugitive you captured? The jailer hesitated. He's locked in. Where he should be imprisoned? Where? Su Yingxue's voice carried a commanding tone, holding the cold jade in her hand. The jailer nervously led her to the cell. When they walked, his legs trembled. Half of it was fear of her, and the other half was fear of the token in her hand. Chapter 364. Chu Qingye, wake up. When Su Yingxue arrived at the cell, she smelled a stench. It was emitted by the fugitive's body. It was probably because his wound had not been treated for many days. The smell of blood carried the smell of pus from the wound. Su Yingxue tossed aside a few boards and proceeded to examine him. You have multiple fractures all over your body. Your legs and arms are completely broken. Yet, you managed to walk to the clinic. A true hero, you are. Su Yingxue smiled helplessly. This was probably the most troublesome patient she had ever had since she took over the clinic. She removed his clothes and washed him with spring water, finally seeing his skin's true color. His wheat-colored skin indicated a disciplined martial artist. Numerous scars adorned his body, some from old injuries. Su Yingxue realigned his bones, securing his limbs with wooden boards before treating the wounds. As she worked, she speculated. This person doesn't seem like a criminal. He appears more like someone returning from the battlefield. Yet, she was certain she had never seen his clean face in either of her lifetimes. Thinking himself in Yama's palace, Qin Mayan, upon opening his blurry eyes, was astonished to behold Su Yingxue's stunning visage. Are you Meng Piu, guiding me through the afterlife? Mengpe, Su Yingxue laughed. Have you ever seen such a young and beautiful Mengpe?
No.
Qin Mayan shook his head. Mengpe could only be seen after death. If he didn't see Mengpe now, he wasn't dead. This extraordinary woman before him had saved him. Miss, may I ask, answer my question first. What crime did you commit to be arrested? Su Yingxue fixed him with a wary gaze. Meeting her captivating eyes, Qin Mayan answered honestly, I haven't committed a crime. One don't know why one was captured. Where is this place? The Ministry of Justice's prison, Su Yingxue responded. Observing the surroundings, Qin Mayan noticed it differed from the Great Wei Dynasty's Ministry of Justice prison he knew. He frowned. This isn't the Great Wei Dynasty's Ministry of Justice, but the Great Qing Dynasty? Su Yingxue was incredulous. You don't even know where you are? She felt some sympathy moments ago, presuming he left his hometown. But what did he just say? Great Wei Dynasty's prison? Are you from the Great Wei Dynasty? Su Yingxue's pupils contracted. His wounds and the severity of his injuries suggested he wasn't an ordinary person from the Great Wei Dynasty. Her mother hailed from the Great Wei Dynasty. Your Great Wei Dynasty. Su Yingxue was about to inquire when Chu Qingye interrupted. Su Yingxue, how dare you intrude into the Ministry of Justice's prison? Bringing several people, he encircled Su Yingxue and Qin Mayan. Su Yingxue had no choice but to stand and face Chu Qingye. She flashed the cold jade in her hand, her cold eyes carrying a trace of arrogance. Why can't one break into the Ministry of Justice's prison? Imperial Uncle's cold jade. Chu Qingye's eyes widened, turmoil in his heart. How is it with you? Su Yingxue, how dare you? Seventh Prince, you should be more clear-headed. No one in the world dares to snatch the Ninth Prince's things. If it appears in my hands, it's undoubtedly a gift from the Ninth Prince. Chapter 365. Chu Yihan cannot touch the Ministry of Justice, Seventh Prince. You should think more clearly. No one in the world would dare steal from the Ninth Prince. Since it's in my hands, your Highness must have given it to me. As he has, one have the right to use the cold jade to enter and leave the imperial prison. One also requests a thorough investigation into my clinic harboring a fugitive. She emphasized the word fugitive, compelling Chu Qingye to take it seriously. He waved his hand coldly. Take this person to the court. 111. Personally judge him. Su Yingxue hadn't expected Chu Qingye to handle the case so seriously. Without asking Qin Mayan a few questions, he declared his guilt, throwing him back into the cell. Furthermore, he concluded that the clinic's harboring constituted a grave offense, and they all must face legal consequences. Su Yingxue intercepted Chu Qingye. Is this how the Seventh Prince manages the Ministry of Justice? With such management, how many unjust cases will arise? How many innocents will die? Do one need you to teach me how to work? Su Yingxue, if you can get Imperial Uncle's cold jade, then ask Imperial Uncle to help you. Let's see if he can intervene. If you're incapable, just watch everyone in the clinic fall into my hands. Chu Qingye's smile held a trace of malice. Rather than immediately seeking Chu Yihan, Su Yingxue visited the capital prefecture and consulted Liang Jin about the matter. Liang Jin sighed. Miss Su, if the Seventh Prince presides, this matter might be challenging. Why? Can't Lord Liang help? Su Yingxue was puzzled. Although the Ministry of Justice handled cases nationwide, Liang Jin oversaw all cases in Jiangdu City. If he wanted to bring this issue to trial, he should have the authority, right? Moreover, before Su Yingxue could mention Chu Yihan's name, Liang Jin informed her, one fear even the Ninth Prince can't intervene in this matter. Although you can use the cold jade to enter the Ministry of Justice's prison, the late Emperor decreed that your Highness should never interfere with the Ministry of Justice. Otherwise, he'd be charged with treason. Why? Su Yingxue's expression was filled with doubt. The late Emperor had such a decree? Did Chu Yihan do something? When your Highness was young, he accidentally killed a Minister of Justice. Despite sparing his life, the Emperor strictly prohibited your Highness from meddling in the Ministry of Justice. The Seventh Prince boldly bringing someone to the Ministry of Justice indicates it was premeditated. Liang Jin clarified the situation for Su Yingxue. She nodded slightly in gratitude. Thank you, Lord Liang. Given the circumstances, she couldn't involve Chui Han. She had to rely on herself to save everyone from the clinic. However, she hadn't yet figured out how to confront Chu Chengye. She summoned Ziwei and instructed him, "Take this heart protection pill to that man from Great Wei Dynasty and tell him that even if he dies, he'll go to Mingpur and retrieve him. Don't let Chu Chengye harm him." Ziwei nodded. Understood. With Ziwei overseeing the Ministry of Justice's prison, Su Yingxue felt less concerned. As soon as she entered the Marquis Manor, Su Dingheng summoned her to the front hall. Holding the account book, he hurled it at her when she arrived. "Su Yingxue, what have you done? The accounts are a mess, and things are a complete mess. How are you managing this household?" Su Yingxue dodged the attack, grabbing the account book. She explained in a subdued tone, "Father, something happened at the clinic. I've been a bit busy." "You're busy? If you're busy, why bother with the household? Since you can't manage this pair of tokens properly, I'm taking them back completely. Go busy yourself at the clinic. You don't need to manage the household anymore." Su Dingheng's face was filled with anger. Chapter 366. Do you still remember my mother? After scolding Su Yingxue, he turned around and handed half of the token to Lu Shulan. "Laner, you are now the aunt of the residents. They'll leave the accounts and the token to you. Don't disappoint me." Lu Shulan was delighted. "Yes, Marquis." When she turned around to look at Su Yingxue, her expression became a little proud. "Yingxue, you have so many things on your hands that, inevitably, you can't take care of the Marquis Manor's matters. From now on, Aunt will be in charge of the Marquis Manor. You don't have to work so hard." All Aunt, a fake token and account book. Aunt probably can't manage the Marquis Manor. Su Yingxue's eyes curved into crescents as she revealed an innocent smile. She took out the token from her waist and showed it to Su Dingheng. "Father, the token is such an important thing. Why would one put it in the accounting room? Also, this account book was originally a fake account book that one made and placed in the accounting room. I wanted to see what kind of evil people there were in our Marquis Manor. Flo, did it end up in the hands of Father and Aunt now?" Eiler's rhetorical question made Su Dingheng stunned. The token in your hand is the real one? Why don't Father compete?" Su Yingxue brought the token to Su Dingheng's side. Su Dingheng had another token on him. Fai compared it with the token in Su Yingxue's hand and Lu Shulan's hand. Obviously, the token in Lu Shulan's hands was fake. It was just carved from a random piece of wood and then painted with a layer of paint. It was not golden Nanmu at all. Lu Shulan's face instantly turned pale. "This, Jilan, bring the account book over." Su Yingxue called out, and Jilan immediately brought over the real account book. She handed it to Su Dingheng and asked him to check it carefully. "Father, are there any mistakes in the account book?" Su Dingheng blushed. "There's no mistake. Since there is no such thing, does Father still want to take back my right to manage the household?" Su Yingxue blinked her big, innocent eyes as if she had been bullied. Su Dingheng looked a little unhappy. He glared at Lu Shulan with resentment. "Some people have evil thoughts. You should manage the household." "Yes, Father." Su Yingxue watched as Su Dingheng flicked his sleeves and left, revealing an obedient smile. Lu Shulan panicked and quickly chased after Su Dingheng. "Marquis, please listen to my explanation." She did not manage to catch up to Su Dingheng and almost sprained her ankle. Su Yingxue slowly walked over from behind her. She chuckled softly. "Aunt, slow down. Otherwise, you might make another mistake. The gains will not make up for the losses." The cynicism in her eyes slowly turned into mockery. Lu Shulan bit her lip and blood flowed into her mouth. Su Yingxue walked to Lu Shulan's side. She was half a head taller than Lu Shulan. She bent down and faced her face. She had a calm smile on her face. "Does it hurt to fall into this pit?" Lu Shulan's heart sank. Of course, it hurt to fall into this pit. Su Yuro had lost face at the birthday banquet, and after she entered the manor, she was anxious to catch Su Yingxue's mistake. wanting to take charge of Marquis Manor. However, because she had stolen the fake account book and token, she had made Su Dingheng loathe her. Not only had she fallen into the trap that Su Yingxue had specially made for her, but she had even fallen and bled. Flo, could it not hurt? Eldest young miss, do you want to chase us out again? Lu Shulan struggled to control her expression so that she would not look too embarrassed in front of Su Yingxue. However, Su Yingxue said something that made her blood turn cold. One just want to ask you, do you still remember my mother? Chapter 367. The Special Bloodline of Great Wei Dynasty Royal Family. Lu Shulan had nightmares the entire night. She dreamt of Long Shuli, a figure as high and mighty as a god but capable of beating her to a pulp with just one move. In her dream, there was a man wearing a black hat. His voice was hoarse. As long as you lure Long Shuli out of Marquis Manor, I guarantee she won't be alive to fight you for everything in the Marquis Manor. She followed the instructions, and Long Shuli died in childbirth. She thought that after so many years, no one would bring it up again. However, she didn't expect Su Yingxue to question her. What did she find out? Initially, Su Yingxue only intended to warn Lu Shulan. The next day, she still visited the Great Wei Dynasty man imprisoned. Qin Mayan could already sit up. Su Yingxue approached him and was startled when she saw him. Then, she took his pulse and found that besides the broken bones and muscles, all other wounds were healing rapidly. Even his internal energy was recovering quickly. Why did you recover so quickly? Su Yingxue asked, genuinely puzzled. Because of the special bloodline, Qin Mayan replied, observing her as he spoke. He constantly felt like he had met her before and should know her. However, he had spent the whole night trying to recall but couldn't remember that he knew Su Yingxue. He had to say that this illusion was too strong. Are all the people of the Great Wei Dynasty's bloodlines this special? Su Yingxue furrowed her brow slightly. She had heard her brother say that the troops of the Great Wei Dynasty were brave and skilled in battle. They were like tigers and wolves. In just a few years, they invaded the 4 countries from the frontier, overthrew the previous dynasty, and established the Great Wei Dynasty. Their heroic spirit had intimidated the other 3 countries. Qin Mayan wanted to tell her that only the imperial family of the Great Wei Dynasty had this special bloodline. However, considering they didn't know each other and he was in a foreign country, he had to be cautious. He nodded and said, yes. Su Yingxue took a sharp breath. She suddenly worried about Su Hao, who guarded the bamboo leaf pass. If he encountered an enemy with such a terrifying bloodline, Su Hao might suffer if a battle broke out. However, she couldn't think that far ahead now. She could only ask Qin Mayan where he came from, what crime he committed, and why he went to the clinic that day. Qin Mayan didn't hide anything. I was seriously injured in battle and unconscious for a long time. When one woke up, I was in this strange place. Then, I ran for my life and fainted at a clinic. He also heard Su Yingxue's explanation. In that case, I have implicated your clinic. You've indeed implicated my clinic, but you're not a member of the Great Cheng Dynasty. Even if you were casually treated as a fugitive, you wouldn't have been able to seek justice. Su Yingxue's brows were furrowed with worry. This was what disgusted Chu Chengya. If anyone claimed someone was a fugitive, he would immediately sentence the person to death and implicate the clinic. It wasn't difficult for him. However, if Su Yingxue wanted to overturn the case for the clinic and couldn't ask Chu Yihan for help, it was difficult. Liang Jin couldn't do anything about it either. The emperor then viewed her as an enemy and didn't help her. No matter how one looked at it, the situation was a dead end. Chu Chengya had forced her to beg him. Miss, if you wanted to save someone, I had. Qin Mayan had just taken out a bright yellow jade pendant with the word Wei carved on it. He was prepared to say that as long as he revealed his identity, the people of the Great Cheng Dynasty wouldn't dare to unjustly kill him. But before he could finish, Su Yingxue left. Qin Mayan couldn't help but laugh as he looked at her departing figure. She's impatient. Chapter 368. Chu Qingye couldn't sit still anymore, however. He had intentionally concealed it from her, so it was normal for Su Yingxue not to listen to him finish speaking. At the very least, her decisiveness was rare. After Su Yingxue left the imperial prison, she stayed in Marquis Manor. At this time, the more Chu Qingye forced her to look for him, the more she wanted to delay meeting him. He might not harm the people in the clinic, but if she entered the seventh prince's residence, it would be hard to say. When she returned to the Marquis Manor, Wu Jinyin had also come over. Wu Jinyin saw that her expression was cold, and she could feel her fatigue. She quickly helped her sit down and sprinkled some perfume on her. The matters of the clinic and the Marquis Manor are a lot. You should take some time to rest. Otherwise, if your brother finds out, he'll be heartbroken. Brother sent a letter? Su Yingxue's eyes lit up. Wu Jinyin handed her an envelope. He just sent it over. He even brought back a few seashells and conches from the beach for us to enjoy. Wu Jinyin handed a few pieces of colorful shells to Su Yingxue. I made a wind chime with the rest and hung it at the head of the bed. Listening to the sound of the wind chime every day is like smelling the scent of the sea. Sister-in-law, it seems to me that you're not just smelling the sea breeze. You're sensing my brother's affection for you, right? Su Yingxue winked playfully. Wu Jinyin, a practical person, only spoke this way when it came to the sweetness between her and Su Hao. At the mention of Su Hao, all the longing in her heart surged out. In the past, we couldn't see each other every day, but being in Jiangdu City together, I didn't know that the pain of longing could be so intense. Su Yingxue could tell that she missed Su Hao very much. 3 years of waiting wouldn't pass in the blink of an eye. She didn't expect someone as careful as Wu Jinyin to boldly go to Bamboo Leaf Pass to look for Su Hao. However, all of this happened later. Right now, her heart was only occupied with her mother and the clinic. She still wanted to find some clues from that man from the Great Wei dynasty, so she flipped through all the records left behind by her mother. However, she found that her mother had written so much, yet there was no record of the Great Wei dynasty, especially the Great Wei dynasty's imperial family. Su Yingxue felt that her mother's thoughts were becoming more difficult to guess. She took out the black box that couldn't be opened. She wanted to use poison to corrode the box and open it, but it turned out that not only could the box not be corroded, but its surface became even brighter. Su Yingxue was speechless. She felt powerless. Mother, can't the mystery you left behind be solved a little easier? Su Yingxue thought to herself. The next day, before Su Yingxue went to the accountant's office, Su Yuro came to her courtyard. She had red eyes and looked like she wanted to eat someone up. Su Yingxue, you bitch. You went to seduce the seventh prince again. Su Yingxue yawned and started to wash up leisurely. She asked Su Yuro, how did I seduce the seventh prince and how did you find out? Before dawn, the seventh prince sent someone to ask me what you have been doing recently. If you hadn't seduced the seventh prince, why would he be so obsessed with you? Su Yingxue. If Yuan Rua hadn't stopped her, Su Yuro would have pounced on Su Yingxue and torn her face off. Su Yingxue shrugged innocently. Just answer whatever he asks. Anyway, Su Yuro didn't know what she had been up to recently, and Chu Qingye couldn't get anything out of her either. It was just that he couldn't sit still. Chapter 369. In front of Long Shuli, he was too useless. Su Yuro was furious when she saw her like this. Su Yingxue, you're shameless. You hooked up with the ninth prince and even seduced the seventh prince. You, Zhelan? Tell her to scram, Su Yingxue said indifferently. Zhelan complied and immediately gestured for the servants who were sweeping the courtyard. Escort the second young miss out. She didn't know how to fight, but the servants were all strong and sturdy. They dragged Su Yuro to the door and threw her out. Su Yuro fell on her butt and cried in pain. Su Yingxue, just you wait. I won't let you off. Zhelan curved her lips and smiled at her. Second young miss, it's better to go back and recuperate before returning. Su Yuro was supported by someone. The whip wounds on her body had yet to heal, and her but suffered another fall. She cried back to Sunset Garden. Su Yingxue took Zhelan to the accountant's office to handle some matters. Zhelan reported, Yesterday's expenses in the residence were normal. However, Marquis wanted to order a new batch of furniture and renovate the courtyard, costing 850 taels. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. Why did father suddenly want to repair the courtyard? Is he planning to give it to Qingxin Court? Zhilan shook her head, saying with some difficulty, Marquis mentioned that Miss had previously damaged his courtyard and left it unrepaired. Now that Miss is in charge, he requested you to fund the courtyard's renovation. Su Yingxue sneered. How long had it been since she damaged his courtyard? Why was he thinking of renovating it only now? However, when Wu Jinyin came over yesterday, he had given her a substantial dividend. With the business in her hands becoming more profitable, 850 taels of silver didn't seem like much. She crossed out this record from the account and instructed Zhilan, allocate 2,000 taels of silver to father. Let him repair or expand the courtyard as he wishes. Zhilan felt a pang of concern. Miss, Marquis is extorting you. Why spend 2,000 taels of silver on this? In this world, it was heard that parents spent money on their children, but a father spending such an amount on an unmarried daughter was unheard of. Su Yingxue calculated calmly, her expression icy. I'm not lacking in this money, but spending it on him is inviting disgrace upon himself. She didn't mind letting others know that the esteemed Marquis of Martial South was still using his daughter's money after inheriting the title. As expected, when Su Yingxue sent the 2,000 taels to Su Dingheng, not only was he unhappy, but his face turned ashen. She's humiliating me. Lu Shulan's soft and delicate hand caressed his chest as she said gently, Master, this gesture from Yingxue is her way of showing respect to you. This 2,000 taels of silver is something an ordinary family would never spend in their lifetime. Yingxue gave it to you willingly, indicating how much she respects you as her father. She appeared to praise Su Yingxue, yet she was aware of Su Dingheng's sense of inferiority. She stoked his anger, highlighting his growing inadequacy as a father in the presence of his daughter. Su Dingheng felt ashamed and grew to hate Su Yingxue even more. His eyes filled with resentment. Mother is like this, son is like this, and so is her daughter. In front of the three of them, one will be as useless as a worm. Back then, he accidentally slept with Long Shuli and felt inadequate to marry her. Long Shuli was renowned worldwide, yet he remained obscure. He was useless. Even inheriting the noble title was credited to him by the old master because of Su Hao. Now, Su Yingxue surpassed him in every aspect. He was useless as a husband, useless as a father, and would always be inferior in front of Long Shuli and her bloodline. Chapter 370. Lin Cixi, who was hiding, he hated Long Shuli. Why did she, even in death, act like a mirror, revealing his utter incompetence? Su Yingxue waited for 2 more days, yet Chu Qingye still hadn't come to see her. However, news arrived from the prison. Ziwei returned with the information. That person had recovered. His legs and bones had fully healed. Su Yingxue's face reflected incredulity. He could stand already. Ziwei's voice was hoarse. This was truly unimaginable. Su Yingxue looked astonished. The bloodline of the Great Wei dynasty stirred her intense curiosity. She genuinely wanted to bring that man to the clinic and study him. However, Ziwei also brought unwelcome news. The people from the clinic were tortured. Who? Was it Chu Qingye's doing? Su Yingxue's heart tightened. Yes, Manager Qi, Ziwei replied. His words were concise, but Su Yingxue could sense that Manager Qi, overseeing the clinic, would always be at the forefront, no matter the situation. Naturally, he would bear the brunt of torture. But being a middle-aged man, he couldn't endure for long. She couldn't afford to sit back and do nothing. After some consideration, the only way to stop Chu Qingye from using torture was to compel him to hold a trial first. Moreover, the man from the Great Wei dynasty had already recovered. If she ensured his presence at the court, Chu Qingye wouldn't dare unjustly kill him. Su Yingxue instructed Ziwei to go back and protect the Great Wei dynasty man. She couldn't allow Chu Qingye to kill him. She was there to force Chu Chengye to convene a trial. Miss, the seventh prince's methods were swift and fierce. How do we save Manager Qi? Zhilan asked, worried. Head to the Thousand Jiao Pavilion. Request Sister Jin Yin to disseminate the news that Chu Chengye captured and tortured the clinic staff. 111 Visit the Ninth Prince's bookstore to seek his assistance in spreading this information. Public rumors will compel Chu Chengye to hold a trial. Otherwise, if he lost the public's favor, he could forget about the throne. After giving her orders, Su Yingxue immediately split up with Zhilan. She headed to Chu Jinling's bookstore, intending to find a manager to delegate the task. Unexpectedly, Chu Jinling was there, and upon hearing Su Yingxue's words, he immediately said, "They'll handle this." "But Auntie, one needs your help." "What help?" Su Yingxue tilted her head. Chu Jinling's fair face showed concern. Cici had been staying upstairs for a long time. She didn't want to go home or see anyone. "Please go and talk to her." Su Yingxue nodded and went to the third floor. There was a door with an exquisite lock at the stairwell. She used the key given by Chu Jinling to open it. However, before entering, she heard Lin Cici's frightened voice. "You're not Jinling. Who are you?" "Don't come in." Her voice trembled, lacking the former confidence. "Cici, don't be afraid. It's me." Su Yingxue stepped in, feeling guilty. "Dr. Su?" Lin Cici's voice held a hint of surprise, but she didn't immediately show herself. Instead, she remained behind the bookcase and said softly, "Did Jinling send you to accompany me?" "I am fine." "If you're fine, why don't you go home? Why don't you see anyone? Why are you hiding in the dark? Why don't you even see me?" Su Yingxue's tone was filled with concern. When she first met Lin Cici, she also had flaws on her face, but she was arrogant and willful. Now that her appearance was ruined and she was hiding, she looked like a little kitten who was seriously injured and only dared to lie in the dark and lick her wounds. It was unbearable. Chapter 371. Shameless Entanglement. Lin Cici's voice choked with emotion. "I don't want to go out looking like this, scaring people or upsetting you." "You want?" Su Yingxue wished to reassure her, but wasn't sure where to begin. A woman's appearance was ultimately important. But to Lin Cici, Su Yingxue thought, even if you hide, the ninth prince will still cherish and adore you. A glimmer appeared in Lin Cici's eyes as her choked voice revealed a hint of relief. "Jinling is kind. He doesn't disdain me and has always been by my side. For his companionship, you should muster some courage. Do you want him to remain confined here forever, hiding in these bookshelves with you?" Su Yingxue sighed softly. Lin Cici bit her lip and shook her head. "I don't want that. Jinling is a prince. If I can't stay here with me forever." The other day, noble consort Xiao had sent someone. Although Chu Jinling had requested her to stay upstairs, she couldn't resist overhearing. Granny Song beside noble consort Xiao had remarked that he shouldn't keep spoiling her. If it persisted, she wouldn't allow him to marry her. Her heart trembled, but she couldn't overcome the fear within her. "Since you're aware, you should be braver. Even if others view you differently or hurt you with words, your life isn't dictated by them. They can't influence your life." Su Yingxue tried her best to persuade her. She untied the red jade whip from her waist and handed it over. "This is what you gave me before. Take it back now." While she disagreed with Lin Cici's previous temper tantrums, she needed a means to defend herself now. Lin Cici cautiously moved out of the bookcase. One hand covered her face, and the other reached for Su Yingxue's whip. Despite wielding this since childhood, holding it now felt incredibly foreign to her. "Xiao Ruxue, how many times must I say it for you to understand? I don't like you. So even if you come 10 times a day, it's pointless. Leave." Chu Jinling's voice echoed from downstairs. Su Yingxue went to take a look, followed by Lin Cici. However, Lin Cici stayed in the shadows, whispering, "It must be Xiao Ruxue again." She pouted, her words tinged with bitterness. "She keeps pestering Jinling. Despite Jinling chasing her away every time, she comes back even more the next day." Suing Shue stood at the door, arms crossed. Her audacity is something else. Upon hearing this, Lin Sisi felt even more uncomfortable. Upstairs, the two observed as Xiao Rushue persistently tried to engage Chu Jinling downstairs. Despite Chu Jinling's repeated attempts to send her away in public, she persisted. She even went as far as to hold Chu Jinling's arm affectionately and said, "Cousin, Rushue misses you dearly. I made bird's nest silver silk rolls and sent you red date and wheat porridge. Taste it. If you don't like it, Rushue will make something else for you tomorrow." She gestured for her maid to open the food box, releasing the aroma of exquisite food. Observers in the bookstore gazed with envy. The ninth prince is truly fortunate. Even with an engagement, a young miss rushes to deliver food. Absolutely. Don't forget he's a prince. The emperor's cherished one, supported by the Xiao family, even if she becomes a concubine, it's blessings from a previous life. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.